Captain America orgy.
Yeah. Captain America, orgy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would be like,
it's like Civil War meets Caligula.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by CinemaSins.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from CinemaSins, joined as always by the voice of CinemaSins, Jeremy Scott.
Yellow.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Sheriff.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I said hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. We are going to go back on our road trip.
On the road again. The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip. Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Yeah.
Ooh, doggy, I'm sick of this place. Let's get back in the car.
Finally going to Maine. We put Maine off for 5 weeks.
Yeah, we stopped over at a B&B, and
That's
we really enjoyed it.
That's correct.
That's how imposing Maine is.
Well, that's how far, was it Louisiana was the last one?
I think so, yeah.
That's how far Louisiana is from Maine.
It's a long
it
fucking
takes
way,
5
man.
weeks to get there.
Yeah, we had to talk about the MCU just to pass the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was recorded in the car.
Actually, I would love to do that someday.
What's that?
Like, actually do a road trip where we record while we're, like,
Oh, yeah.
off-site or in a car or
That would be pretty
on a field
awesome.
trip or something.
Because it's essentially like a podcast episode. We just talk about movies and
Yeah.
Yeah.
we take like little detours.
Yeah.
Maine is going to be the Stephen King episode.
Yeah.
Just about. There's a lot of Stephen King, obviously, in this whole thing. Everything that he wrote set in Maine, so every movie that was made off of those books.
There's
shot in
actually,
Maine.
you might not know this, but there's actually a Stephen King tax in Maine. Everything you buy, that's actual 1 cent of that purchase goes to Stephen King
Yes.
as a thank you for keeping Maine on the map.
That's true.
We also, there's also going to be a movie that essentially ended Gene Hackman's career. Will
Yeah.
be showing up on this podcast. Sadly,
Do we? Has he said anything publicly?
I think he says, I enjoy my retired life. I enjoy writing my poems. I enjoy being with my family.
Is that what he
Wow.
does now? He writes poems?
I think so.
Interesting.
Good
I would
for him.
Read
Yeah.
some of those.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see him in more stuff, but it's not like he hasn't earned the right to disappear.
I just wish somebody, like a Paul Thomas Anderson or somebody, would be like, one more movie, man.
Yes.
Please, just one more.
Oh.
And then go on. That's all it would take. But, he may at this point be like, he may just be like,
Yeah, he's 88.
screw it.
Wow. He's up there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember, he started when he first became a star, he was already 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's crazy to think about.
I wonder what he did beforehand.
I know that he was in the running for the dad in Brady Bunch at one point.
Whoa.
Can you
That's
imagine?
Awesome.
Can you imagine Gene Hackman?
Actually, that would be fucking great.
It would, yeah. But would the show have lasted as long? Can you imagine him being the dad?
Oh man.
Yeah, he started in the 60s in the Playhouse in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was-
you mean what was his career before he tried acting? Or was he an actor
Well, I
all the
think
way
he-
up?
He was in
just-
plays and
just
like
was
TV
never-
shows.
Well,
okay.
he's
and stuff
buddies
like
with
that.
Dustin Hoffman
Mhm.
and who else was it? Robert
Is that
Duvall.
why he never mind.
It was Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall and Dustin Hoffman and he were all buddies in New York. And I've read some excerpts from some book or whatever that showed like how they were all hanging out back in the day. And like I
I bet
Hackman,
they party fucking hard.
I think
too.
Hackman was married, so he didn't get along on the whole like let's go and bang chicks
Yeah.
train like Dustin Hoffman was doing. But yeah, that would have been a fun thing to go, and if you could go back in time,
Be a fly on that wall.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go into our alphabetical list here, and there's a lot of movies here I've either seen and don't remember or just haven't seen. I haven't seen Carousel. Does anybody know anything about that?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's good.
Okay.
So Rodgers and Hammerstein like are known for these big like ostentatious shows and plays and stuff like that sometimes translate to movies really really well and sometimes not as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this one translated as well because it's like it's deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got if I remember correctly, it's it's like a dock worker that's trying to make good, and he's trying to get the girl and stuff like that, and then things end up happening to where he tries to kill her, or she almost dies, and then he dies himself, like he falls on his knife or something like that.
I'm already horrified.
And then they go to heaven.
And they're singing all throughout this? And
yeah,
dancing?
they're singing. Yeah,
lovely.
But
Awesome.
but it's deeper stuff than what you typically get.
Is there any circular horsey rides?
Actually, he is a carnival barker, so I think there is an actual carousel.
But I mean, you're gonna call it carousel. Sure, there's probably a metaphor in here, but show me a carousel, right? It's not like Oklahoma is taking place in Florida. Right?
It's true. And it was, what was the year that the film came out? It was 1956.
Mm-hmm. That was a good year.
Shirley Jones and Gordon McRae. So yeah, it was very enjoyable. The songs are fantastic. They're not like their iconic songs and all that, but
because there's a carousel in The Sting, because it's in the building they're in, but they didn't call that movie Carousel.
No, they didn't.
You have a problem with this name.
That was a far more important thing that they titled it after that. There was an actual sting going on.
A sting.
Yeah. So this was a good movie.
Yes.
What would you if you like such and such? You probably like this.
I mean, if you like what are their other big things? Oklahoma, I think, is
Music
is
Man.
one of them. Music Man. Yeah. I mean, it's a musical just with a little more weight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Then there's the 2013 remake of Carrie, starring Chloë Grace Moretz.
What did you think of this movie?
The original Carrie isn't set in Maine, but this one is?
I guess so.
It's in California is the original one.
Let's mix it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a screenwriter somewhere patting himself on the back furiously for that.
Exactly, because the book happens in Maine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they decided to go out to the open-air high schools of California.
Yeah. Chloë Grace Moretz, by the way, has been in at least 5 horror remakes in her life. The Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
Let Me In.
Yeah.
This movie. Dark Shadows, if you want to consider that a remake.
Well, we're going to get to that.
And then she's going to be in Suspiria.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
She really attracted to these like horror remakes.
And The Equalizer.
Well, yeah, The Equalizer as well.
What's weird is that feels like she's been in 82 movies already.
Yeah, I know. She has been in quite a bit. 65 movies.
Yeah, I wasn't even exaggerating enough.
Yeah.
Like to really make that joke, I should have said like 200.
Yeah.
Besides Dark Shadows, those are all pretty good. Like Let Me In is a good remake.
Let Me In is.
The Carrie remake is okay.
Amityville Horror is not.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She's got a pretty good picker, though, I think, in terms of, like, I think more of her projects end up good than bad.
Yeah. And she's always good, regardless of what she's in.
Yeah, she's got a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is Casper. This is the Christina Ricci
That's
Casper,
the one,
right?
Bill Pullman.
I've not seen this since it came out.
There are some, you probably have to go onto the deep web to find them, but there's a pocket out there that worship this movie. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah?
No, I remember there being people who love
and it is not good.
Oh.
You like it?
No, I mean, the movie's not good. I thought you were talking about the pocket.
No, the movie's not good. I don't.
I'm just envisioning these brony type people.
Oh, no, I don't know whether they're
fetishes.
good or bad. I just know that there is a small but super passionate fan base for this that I was surprised to learn about. Because to me, I remember the movie. I built it. I watched it. Mm-hmm. I immediately forgot it. It was just blah. I enjoyed this movie very much because I was very, very attracted to Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
Now we're the same age, so it wasn't weird.
Right.
But no, she was just my absolute. Her and Alyssa Milano were my absolute crushes.
This is one of those conversations that's like there are only a couple conversations we can have where I realize I'm a little older than you, but this is one of them.
Oh yeah.
Like because I feel like remembering when that movie came out. I feel like she was like 13 in that movie.
She was around at 15, maybe. She's my age.
Yeah,
but
she's
see,
15,
I was
17 when this came
I was
out.
a college student, assistant manager, second in command of the theater. So, like, to be attracted to Christina Ricci at that point in time would have been a felony.
Right. Yes.
And so it's just weird because usually I generally just feel like we're all the same age because all of our references are the same. Right. We grew up in the same general era. But here, just because of a few years difference, I would be a criminal and you would not.
But isn't that the sort of the weird thing, though? Because there's a period of time where you're like 19, 20 years old, and you consider people like Natalie Portman, Christina Ricci, and all these girls like those are children. And then like now you fast forward to today, and
Yeah.
I was watching. I was looking at stuff on my DVR, and Natalie Portman on Saturday Night Live was on, and I was like, damn, I remember her being just a child. Now look at her. You know, she's grown up. She's a mom and all that. And she's 37.
Yeah.
She's essentially my age at this point. And I just remember her just being a child in the professional and everything. And it's like, that's crazy to me to think that, you're so much younger than I am.
Yeah.
And then later on, you're about the same age. We're about the same age.
By the way, want to hang out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so don't remember much about Casper. I don't remember much about Charlotte's Web either, although I read the book. This is the Dakota Fanning one, right?
Yeah, this has got really, and I haven't seen it recently, but at the time it had like Babe level CGI even better, obviously 11 years later. But it really, really played well.
Yeah,
and I bet it still holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I remember this being pretty good, actually. That story is timeless.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, I remember reading it as a kid, and then it's just a movie. It's always good, always a good story. Here's a unfortunate, big, huge gap in my movie watching. I've never seen Children of a Lesser God.
Really?
Yeah.
Children of a Lesser God?
Oh.
Yeah,
I've never seen it either.
yeah.
Oh, it's really good.
I know that Barrett has raved about it before,
Yeah,
and I have never seen it. So
this is Marlee Matlin's first feature performance, at least. And she, of course, won the Academy Award. It's great. It's like, from what I remember, it's like an old crotchety dude. He's not old crotchety at the beginning, but he's like a professor or something like that. And he forms this relationship with a deaf woman. And what I liked about it is that, like, the movie could be just about that, like a romantic comedy. I fall in love with the deaf woman. We figure out how to make it work, blah, blah, blah. But it shows like the practical realities of their relationship, him getting frustrated and being basically like, why can't you hear me? You know, like what you'd imagine maybe something that would come up in a regular relationship. And I don't think they were scared of showing that. I think it was based on a play too. And because of that, I think they got these powerhouse performances. So worth a look for sure.
yeah, I mean, it's one that I'll have to.
This is, I mean, we live in this era, and it's only going to get worse because they're just cranking out more and more good shit, TV and movie-wise.
Yeah.
They're never going to catch up.
No.
So everybody's got gaps in their resume.
A movie I have unfortunately seen is The Cider House.
This is the most colorful, prettiest movie that made me feel icky ever.
Yeah.
It is icky. There's some icky shit in there.
There's some icky shit.
This was in the period of time where anything Lasse Hallström did got nominated, like either Best Picture or somebody in the movie got nominated or whatever.
Well, and this was written by an author whose books all go #1 bestseller list too. John
Irving.
John Irving.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. This. I mean, it's just one of those movies. Like, come on, it's like this. I don't like it. But I only remember really Michael Caine telling everybody like, "Good night, you princess of Maine.
Yeah.
You kings of New England," and that's all I really remember. And it's about abortion.
It's about rape and abortion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
have nothing to say.
Yeah.
The movie is so issue forward that it ceases to be entertaining, even if it were an entertaining story, because it's like a mallet hitting you over the head with the message. And I think there might have been an entertaining story in here if you dial that back a little bit, because you've got talent. You got Tobey Maguire, you got Charlize Theron, you got talent.
This movie was marketed so weirdly too for what it is, because it was marketed as like almost a romance with like a coming of age type of thing,
and horses.
And then you watch it and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I thought this was about apple cider.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little fucked up.
It is.
And then we reach our second Stephen King adaptation, Cujo. I haven't seen this.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
No,
Yeah.
because when I delivered newspapers as a 9-year-old boy on my bike, the dogs used to chase me and bark at me, and it scarred me for years. Now I'm over it now. I like dogs. I'm going to get a dog. If your dog were in the room, I'd be petting him. I'm not afraid of dogs anymore. But this movie came out in a time where I was afraid of dogs. And some movies, like just their existence becomes part of the scar.
Yeah, just like Jaws and like swimming in the ocean, right?
Yeah. So I've never had any interest in, because I don't want to re-trigger that. right?
It probably would.
I know. I don't want to see angry dog killing people.
And it's a Saint Bernard too, which makes it even scarier. The dog's fucking huge, man.
There's some movies that I consider like almost like grandfathered that I've never watched, like I never will watch probably. But I mean, eventually I'll somehow watch Cujo. But like wasn't old enough to watch R-rated movies when I was growing up. And then when you finally are old enough to watch movies, it's not like, oh, I need to go back and revisit Cujo.
Right.
So it's not like, there's not like anything that says you need to do this. And so I still haven't seen it.
It's not very good. I mean, it's just a straightforward horror movie.
You ever read the book?
I did not read the book. It was one of the few Stephen King books I didn't read. It's 1983. There's not any like recognizable names in the cast or anything like that. I mean, I'm jumping forward a little bit, but like something like Needful Things, an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, I love that movie. Mm-hmm. It's not a great movie. It's Max von Sydow. So,
Max von Sydow.
Sydow. And he like gives it this gravitas, and I love the story and stuff like that. Totally forgettable movie other than that.
By the way, I take issue with you saying nobody is recognizable in Cujo. You have Dee Wallace, sir, who was in E.T.
Oh, yeah.
And you have Danny Pintaro as well from one of those shows in the 80s.
Man, I'm catching so much shit online for how casually I dismissed that girl from Charmed in the Ocean's 11 video.
That's great.
Like of all the people in that table that we make fun of, the Charmed girl is the one I'm getting pushback on.
The least most famous.
But I'm right.
Yes.
Even if you love her, she's still the third most famous from that show.
No, Danny Pintaro was on Who's the Boss.
Ah.
He was playing Danny? Isn't that his character's name?
Could be.
I love when that happens. There's a girl on Criminal Minds. She's the actress is AJ, and her character's name is JJ.
Oh, interesting.
AJ plays JJ.
No, he played Jonathan.
Oh, is that Jonathan?
Jonathan Bauer.
Oh.
Who's the boss? Tony Danza?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I never watched that one.
Well, actually, it was Judith Light who was the boss.
I'm sure.
if you remember watching the show.
The true boss was Mona.
Yeah. That's when Mom and Dad weren't. That was not Mom and Dad approved in our house.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. There was some.
Yeah, there was some pretty racy things in that.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess. I was allowed to watch Alex P. Keaton.
Oh, yeah.
Family Ties.
Oh, dear.
Because he was Republican.
He was aggressively Republican.
Yes, he was.
Wow, you missed out on Alyssa Milano back in those days.
Oh my God!
I wouldn't say I missed out.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, you did. The thing that was one of those weird like moments where just imagine what directors feel like, or people who worked with those people, or like when they're children and everything, and then they grow up and do like adult stuff. Like Drew Barrymore went and posed for Playboy and gave Playboy to Steven Spielberg, and Spielberg was like, "Get that out of my face!"
Yeah, seriously, why would you even do that?
Right, and then
you might as well just give it to your dad. Too.
Yeah, exactly. And Alyssa Milano, of course, had an illustrious career there in the 90s of softcore, and like Tony Danza was like, what the hell are you doing? But we're not here to shame people. God damn it.
No.
That's true.
That's not what we're here for.
Well, we are, just not for that.
No, it's just we're not shaming them. We're just trying to say that it's kind of weird when these adult men are working with children and then they grow up and do all this weird stuff.
Yeah. Then
we have Dark Shadows, which we have somewhat talked about already, because Chloe Grace Moretz was in it.
That movie is awful.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you got Michelle Pfeiffer, Chloe Grace Moretz, Johnny Depp. Still okay. Yeah, he's weird Johnny Depp now, but he's still Johnny Depp. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of good actors in this. You get Ava Green is in that too. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you have such a massive strikeout?
Well,
with Tim Burton, he's still got to have some juice left,
because
right?
it was too late to catch the vampire wave. Right? That's what they're doing.
Right, but the story really wasn't about him being a vampire. The story's about the family. At least the series was. I actually liked the series.
The original or the remake series with Ben Cross?
I never saw the remakes.
Well, that was in the 90s. That's my point. Is that this was just a property that somebody owned, and so for some reason, this is cheaper or better in Hollywood's eyes to take something we already own and redo it.
Wasn't Dark Shadows, when it first came out, a soap opera that came out every day?
I think so.
So it has like 700 episodes or something like that. I was going through, by the way, don't ask why. I was going through Days of Our Lives one time looking for they have 2,000 episodes.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah.
It's crazy. Like how, and I was looking for a specific one because as I was a kid, I was forced to watch Days of Our Lives a lot.
I wasn't forced, but my mom watched General Hospital when I was a kid, so I watched a good few years of that.
Yeah, I wasn't forced. It was more like we had one television.
It's on there. Either not watch television and stare at the wall.
Or go outside and exercise.
Come
Fuck
on.
that. Anyway, Dark Shadows is terrible. I don't know what went wrong. Like Jeremy's saying, it's a property somebody owns, and let's do it, and let's put Tim Burton and then just make a completely just innocuous, ridiculous movie that doesn't have any kind of value whatsoever. Really,
it's such a waste.
Yeah. Lots of makeup in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of makeup. Makeup department earned their cash on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Our third Stephen King, The Dead Zone. That's a good one. That's a good Christopher. That's where Christopher Walken may have officially become Christopher Walken.
Yeah. Did you ever see The Dead Zone?
Nope.
Okay, so the conceit of The Dead Zone, if I'm remembering this correctly, is if he has physical contact with somebody, he goes, huh?
Yes.
And he can see like their future or something like that, or he can see their backstory or something like that.
Yeah, I think it could be both.
And so Christopher Walken shortly afterwards did Saturday Night Live. And so he was at a dinner party in a sketch, and he was just walking around, and somebody like came up and they're like, "Hey, how you doing there, Chris?" And he goes, "Oh," and he sees like this horrible death. So I'm like, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so great.
All right.
I read this book. It was actually really good.
Yeah.
And the movie is good too.
Mhm.
Christopher Walken, like I said, this is Walken before he really turns into like comedy Walken, but it's sort of getting to that point.
Right.
You watch Dead Zone, you're like, oh wow, he's like a normal person, but he still has some of those Walkenisms or whatever that's in it. But yeah, Dead Zone's good. There was also a TV series with Anthony Michael Hall that came out.
I saw a couple of episodes. They were
I
good.
heard it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then another one, Dolores Claiborne, which I'm trying to remember if I did see this actually. I don't remember anything about it. I remember Kathy Bates, Jennifer
Kathy
Jason
Bates
Leigh.
had a Stephen King face.
Yeah.
So far, I've got Kathy Bates and Chloe Grace Moretz on the scorecard as to who's been in the most Maine movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Both at 2 in my mental scorecard. I never saw Dolores Claiborne.
Yeah, did she win for this? She won for Misery.
She won for Misery. I don't think nothing got nominated for Dolores Claiborne.
But yeah, no, it's good. I don't think there's any bit of horror in this.
No.
I think it's just like a family tale about like Kathy Bates is taking care of this older woman and she dies and there's an investigation. Jennifer Jason Leigh is her daughter and they've had a troubled relationship and that kind of thing. But I don't remember there anything, and it's not like a bait and switch thing like Green Mile where like all of a sudden supernatural stuff like comes in at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a straightforward like family drama.
I do remember there's a line that Kathy Bates has where she mentions Shawshank. She says something about we'll have to take you to Shawshank.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So they do have some sort of like
But
connection.
she's got that Maine accent too. It's like Shawshank.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were a genre author like with success, how could you resist doing like in-universe references like that to your other books?
He does it all the time.
I think it would be hard to resist doing.
Yes.
That. Just winking, just for the fans.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. Stephen King books, like he'll reference in Dark Tower, he'll reference The Stand. In fact, he references The Stand in a lot of different things. Hearts of Atlantis references Dark Tower. A lot of things reference Dark Tower.
It's like Tarantino's Red Apple Cigarettes or whatever.
Yeah.
And, his in-universe stuff that pops up.
Yeah.
Then there's I never saw The Good Son. That's
Really?
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood.
Yeah, that's the most daring crossover ever.
I remember. Well, see, this is another rated R movie that I wasn't allowed to see. But I remember going, whoa, what is he doing? What is he doing being in movies that I can't watch? He's in like Home Alone. Like, what is he doing? And there's the trailer, he's like holding on to Elijah Wood from the treehouse or whatever. And he's like, if I let you go, you think you could fly?
Yeah. It's so great. Oh my God. I got to see when this came out, what year this came out. because it was right on the heels of Home Alone 2. 93.
93.
Yeah, it was right on the heels of Home Alone 2.
Yeah, and it obviously came out either it came out what was the month and everything that it came out, because in 93, obviously at 16 working at a movie theater, I watched all the R-rated movies, but
No, September.
okay, so it may have been a situation where it came out but we didn't get it, and then I never watched it because of it.
Oh man, it's great.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're so used to, when I saw it, it wasn't when it came out, but it was a few years after that.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw it, I hadn't seen Macaulay Culkin in anything else besides Home Alone. It was before he did Saved. I don't know what he was doing, Michael Jackson videos and stuff like that between the...
Yeah, well, Saved was a long time ago.
That was like 99
Michael
or something.
Jackson video.
Yeah, he was in black and white and stuff.
He couldn't fill years doing that.
But yeah, no, it was such a departure because he's so fucking evil in this. Yeah. And he's smiling and it's just chilling and it's pretty good. I enjoyed it.
It's sort of an interesting thing. I heard his interview with Mark Maron on the WTF podcast, and he apparently, like, his dad was as bad as we all heard that he was and everything. Never physically abusive, I don't think, but like just a dick in general. But like, apparently when Macaulay Culkin was on Saturday Night Live, he memorized everything. He didn't use cue cards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And apparently he had already achieved that like ability by the time he got on Saturday Night Live. Like he had done all these, like, just, you know, he memorized his scripts just down to the word and knew them when he came on. That was his thing. So Saturday Night Live, they gave him all these scripts, and there's like, and he said, and they specifically said no cue cards for him.
Huh.
And he did it.
That's awesome.
I wish more people would try that.
Well, I was going to say, because speaking of Christopher Walken on SNL, you might as well just have the cue card person in the frame with him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It would make no difference.
It would make no difference.
I wonder how much of those Continental sketches are either the cue card right at the camera because he's looking right into the camera, or if those are entirely improvised.
Well, either way, it's lazy.
It was after the first one. The first one was funny.
Yeah, I agree.
So The Good Son's a good movie.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's been a while since I've seen it.
I don't think it will have aged. I will admit, I only saw it once on home video, probably around 94, 95 in college. I don't remember liking it. I don't know that means it's bad, but something is compelling me to warn you against watching it because I feel like you're going to watch it thinking this is going to be good, and it's not going to have held up very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was the shock value.
Because let's be honest, Macaulay Culkin wasn't exactly a great actor at this age.
No.
Elijah Wood, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But...
And he would shine in North.
Oh, yes. North was the movie that put everyone on the map.
Yes. Then there is In the Bedroom, which is a really good movie.
Oh, I've seen this.
This is one I
was
haven't
nominated,
seen. Tom
right?
Wilkinson?
Yeah, okay. Tell me what this movie's about.
A New England's couple, college-age son, dates an older woman who has 2 small children and an unwelcome ex-husband. And I remember Marissa Tomei and Oscar winner Jerry was in this as well. And Sissy Spacek and Nick Stahl.
Nick Stahl.
Yeah.
Wow.
The main thing that I remember about In the Bedroom was that I watched it with Jonathan.
Yeah.
And we were in a theater that it was just us and another person in there. And so there was a point where Tom Wilkinson's like taking his clothes off, and he had just done, Full Monty was a few years before this, but I turned to Jonathan and I said, "You can leave your hat on." And he had to stifle laughter for the next 5 minutes. That's awesome. He's like, "Why did you do that?"
It's like the Pez dispenser on.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, the husband is the problem, and they're trying to figure out what to do with him. And of course, it's kind of a dark movie. But Todd Field directed it, and Todd Field is best known to some people, I suppose, as Nick Nightingale in Eyes Wide Shut.
Interesting.
Yeah,
he directed this.
Yeah, he directed this, and he also directed Little Children.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the movie is 17 years old. I know that they kill the guy,
Hmm.
and they have to like dispose of the body and all that.
Interesting.
That's why Wilkinson gets his clothes off, because he's got covered in blood and everything, and he has to take clothes off and put it in this thing that they're going to bury and all that.
I like me some Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah, man, Tom Wilkinson's
He's
great.
usually pretty reliable.
Yeah.
His accent is not always reliable, but he's always reliable.
127 credits for Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, good movie. Then a movie that I know is very popular in here, The Iron Giant.
Ah!
I love this movie so much.
Yeah, man.
This movie is one of the few movies that actually gave me tears, like real tears. Not like I was a little extra emotional for some reason that day and got a little misty-eyed. This gave me tears.
At the end?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time you watch this movie could end 5 minutes before it does
Mm-hmm.
and still be totally complete.
You mean 5 minutes before the very end?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a thing. I'm trying not to spoil this
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a 20-year-old movie at this point, so I don't
Yeah.
know how careful I should really feel. The need to step.
I think we're fine with it.
He comes back together at the end, and you don't know that the first time you're watching it.
Mhm.
And it feels like the kind of movie that will end with him being dead and the statue, and he sacrificed himself for all these people. And it kills me. Killed me.
Yeah.
It killed me.
Watching clips of Vin Diesel doing the voice of the Iron Giant is pretty great.
Oh,
yeah?
I haven't seen that. Is that on like the DVD extras?
I think it is.
Ah.
I'm not sure if it is or not, but I've seen it before, and just watching him having to like just get down deep and Superman and all
Yeah.
that. Watching Vin Diesel do that, imagine as would watching him do the Groot stuff would be fun.
Probably,
too.
yeah.
But yeah, that's man, such a great movie. And I remember it coming out. We were both at Hollywood 27 when this came out, and just nobody watched it.
Nope. Part of it was marketed poorly. Part of it was this sort of old-timey animation look that they went for intentionally because this is a film that's set in the past. And I just think maybe there were other animated films that year, because I think at this point Pixar is becoming a thing.
Yeah, the Pixar had come in 95 with Toy Story, and then there was around this time, it might have been more after this, but there was the thought that people preferred the 3D computer animation over the hand-drawn, but it was really more the better movies were going to that particular way of doing it. I mean, we saw later on that hand-drawn could still be a hit, like with Princess and the Frog and all that. But
Do you think there's still a market for it?
yeah,
Yeah,
but I think
too.
it's just that it's too hard to do it now,
Yeah.
and there may not. Who knows? This might be a sobering thought. There might not be enough people to do animation like that anymore.
That's true.
Maybe. I don't know. You would have to probably, I don't know. This is all conjecture. We're trying to figure out, like, if you wanted to do a hand-drawn movie, you would probably have to spend more to do it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have tons and tons of animators to
Yeah.
do it. But, yeah, man. Can you imagine if the Iron Giant was a computer? I mean, I guess it wouldn't change much other than it doesn't have the same authentic feel to it.
Yeah, there's something about it looking like an old school animated film that helps put your mind in that right time frame and helps sell the Cold War to people who didn't live through it like you and me, because my wife's several years younger than me, and so she doesn't have a lot of memories of Cold War type stuff because she was just a little too young when all that was ending and the wall was falling and she was in diapers and whatnot. Whereas I remember that vividly. I remember the duck and cover type paranoia and fear. And so, but she still adores this movie and connects to it. And I don't think you have to have grown up in that era. And part of why it pulls you in is that animation style, I think.
It's that, and it's the story, because my son loves this movie.
Awesome.
And to him, it's the same quality of like a Toy Story or something like that, because of the relationship that they have, the building of the relationship that is just so cool to see and so emotional to get into. And that's why that ending hits you in the gut, you know. And I think it is timeless. I think this is one of those Brad Bird gems that it's just gonna like persist for years and years and years, because you can put it in any era going forward and it'll still be resonant.
Yeah.
I can only hope that somebody with integrity holds the rights to this thing, because I could see some half-assed Iron Giant 2
Oh yeah,
in this
is it
current
Disney?
age
No,
of
it's Warner Brothers.
It's Warner, but it may be the kind of thing where Brad Bird himself may have some ownership to the IP rights. I don't know.
I don't know, but he shows up in Ready Player One, so
Yep.
That's true.
I guess Warner Brothers still has rights to that. Although a lot of things that are not Warner Brothers shows up in that movie too, so it could be one of those.
Well, the Back to the Future car is Universal, isn't it?
Yeah. And so it could be one of those things where like Roger Rabbit, where they had WB and Disney characters all,
Yeah.
and they had to have the exact same screen time and all that. Who knows what they did with that shit?
But I could see them cranking out a heartless Iron Giant 2 in this current era.
Yep.
And it would break my heart.
Yeah. Following this, another Stephen King, It. Both the miniseries and the movie that came out last year.
This movie, the one that came out last year, just I adore it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fantastic. I'm saying the word "it" a lot, which is like the Knights Who Say No.
Yeah.
It's so like every time I've watched this movie probably 4 times now, including for Sin's purposes, and I love it the same amount every time.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out of the theater saying that's good. Could have been a little bit shorter at some points, but man, hits me.
It's just one of those. I don't know how much you can actually mess this up. The book on which this is based is so strong that the story itself. I mean, you can't really mess this up unless you just change a whole bunch of things.
Exactly, and that's why I'm fucking pumped for part 2 because they've got Bill Hader and Jessica Chastain and like all these amazing. Actors, this cast, and Muschietti is fantastic as a director, and just man, he really captured the kids part of this in the first chapter there, and hopefully he can carry that on because he's got such a strong cast around him in the next one.
The It miniseries is not bad either. I mean, it's dated now,
right?
But
it sure scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid.
Exactly, right? I mean, I was 12, 13 or something when this came out as a miniseries, and it was the talk of freaking where I was at middle school, I guess. Yeah, and then you thought maybe possibly that would be a who's who of like acting talent that would be coming out of that, but Jonathan Brandis had sort of a tragic life, and who else was in that? Like the adult actors, you've seen them before. Like there's one of the
John Ritter's in it.
I was going to say John
Ritter's in it, but then there's the guy who plays Richard Thomas is the guy who played Bill Denbrough, and he's been in a ton. He's been in a ton of stuff.
You've seen him all over the place.
Yeah, he's in 130. He's got 113 credits.
Yeah,
but when you see him, you're not going to immediately think, "Oh, he was in It" or anything, because he kind of like seems to be sort of a chameleon or whatever. But Harry Anderson was in.
Oh, that's right.
Was in that original. But yeah, a lot of the adult actors, you're like you've seen them. They're character actors from a whole bunch of stuff. But the kid actors, none of them really.
Yeah.
Although Seth Green was Richie.
Was he really?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's been forever since I've seen this.
Well, I mean, at this point, I almost kind of want to watch it again.
Yeah.
To see exactly how dated it is and how much of it, because there has to be something beyond just the character design for Pennywise that scared me, right? It can't just be.
Well, no, Tim Curry was terrifying.
Yeah.
There's the scene, it's in the movie too, but I think they did it in a different way in the miniseries. That killed them all, all that was I remember it being scarier in the miniseries, but I haven't seen the miniseries in forever. So, but they do that in the movie too, because there's they're watching that TV program and Pennywise shows up on it or whatever. But,
I had a bit of an issue with that, and especially Stephen King's reliance on the secondary villain. The human version of the villain that gets driven to kill, and it provides extra tension and everything, but I don't know if it's always necessary.
Yeah, but we love us some It here. Then there is Lake Placid.
Oh my God. I'm about to give you a sermon
Okay.
on how great this movie is.
Yes, go for it.
No, I'm not. It's awesome.
Are you going to do the, like, people hate Lake Placid, here's why they are wrong?
Yeah, it's the greatest
No,
movie
I
you've
actually
ever seen.
think it has a pretty good reputation.
I don't know. IMDb, I think, has it at 5 something, whatever. But
It's got a cult reputation.
I disagree.
We need more movies like Lake Placid.
What
Yeah.
makes it so good? It's been a while since I've
Because
seen
it is a mix of humor that really works, mostly between Oliver Platt and old guy, I'm forgetting his name, from In Bruges.
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson. The humor, but then it doesn't Sharknado the action.
Oh, okay.
So the crocodile is a genuine. It looks real, even though it's too big to be real. It's actually eating people and trying to kill more people. There's actual tension there in some of the action sequences, but when the tension is not there, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Because Oliver Platt and Gleason just hate each other so much, and a lot of the humor is deadpan. This is David E. Kelly. It's one of the first movies he directed, if not one of the only
It
ones
might
he
be the
directed.
only.
And his shows have
Well,
often...
he didn't direct it. He wrote it.
Oh.
Steve Miner, who was a big horror director guy, did it.
Well, then maybe that's why it works, because we get David E. Kelly's humor and writing and the characters, but we have a director with a horror background.
Oh, that's interesting.
And yeah, I don't know if he's written too many more movies since then, but even his shows have always blended humor with drama or you know, extreme environments or what have. I fucking love this movie.
Sort of going along the lines of this being a cult hit is that it's had 5 sequels.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of like Wrong Turn.
yeah.
And they're all every bit as bad as the Wrong Turn sequels.
Have you seen them?
I've seen 2 of them.
Oh, you've seen 2 of the Lake Placids?
I like Lake Placid just enough. Cause see, here's the, okay, it's similar to Tremors, which is a comic horror action film. Tremors is a lot of fun. A couple of the sequels, almost as much fun. They're not all shit. And so that's why I watched the Wrong Turn sequels. That's why I watched a couple of these Lake Placid, because one of them you might catch that kind of campy twist on it that's just gold.
Plus, for some reason, those type of movies always seem to catch an actor or an actress that's going to be like big later on.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you were in that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one of those, like, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies had Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger in it before they were big.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure somebody in one of these Lake Placid sequels is a huge star now.
yeah, probably so.
It's like George Clooney in Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Would you buy Oliver Platt as a ladies' man that women are actually attracted to? Flirting constantly?
In the 90s, yeah, I could go.
Because you watch this movie and you will buy it.
Yeah.
You will believe it. He
Wow.
just oozes, you're going to fuck me, and I know it. And one of the girls does. One of the redhead girls does.
All right. Good
It's
job,
great, man. It's short. Get in, get out, laugh. Some Betty White. Move on with your life.
Betty White saying cocksuckers.
Yeah.
That's
Isn't she like feeding cows to the alligator or something like that?
She's definitely feeding and she's letting the baby alligators nibble on her toes.
Oh, really?
At the very end, yeah. The stinger is that there are more.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's that surprising. I'm not like spoiling anything. You're
Yeah,
not watching
don't
this
spoil
movie.
Lake
You're not
Placid.
watching this movie because you want to stay unspoiled as to whether or not the croc
I have
lives.
to put that no spoilers transition.
But
in
there's
between.
he attacks them and they have a plan and it goes to shit, but the alligator ends up caught in the middle of a helicopter. And like there's that great line which Brendan Gleeson has where he's like, yeah, we trapped it with our chopper. Anyway, I wholeheartedly endorse this movie.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't seen it in forever, but I remember having a really good, an unexpected great time with it.
Yeah, I might watch it tonight.
Then there is The Mist. This movie polarizes a lot of people.
Let me ask you this.
I don't know why.
Okay, if they didn't have that ending, would this be just a stock regular horror movie that nobody ever talked about?
Yes.
Or is it really good up until then?
I don't know.
It's decent up until then.
Right.
I think Marcia Gay Harden threatens to derail this movie every time she's on screen, and I love her, but her character is too extreme, and that subplot, it doesn't work for me in this movie at all. I do think it works a little bit in the sense that they don't know what's out there, but they know they can't go out, and then they try to go out, and they tie the thing around the guy, and I think something would work there, but the ending is what makes it. Now, I've never read the book, and I think the ending is different,
I don't.
Well,
remember
yes, the ending is different,
and that's why the movie ending.
The
pissed
ending
people off.
of the Mist that Stephen King wrote was ambiguous, I believe. Like it was sort of, and I don't think they say one way or the other what happens to the heroes at the end. This one obviously has opinions on that.
It's got fucking balls.
It's
It
got
has
some
balls
serious
of
balls.
steel.
And it's worth watching the movie for it.
Yes,
I think.
Yes.
Is this now? And I haven't seen it in forever. It's either known for having great effects or terrible effects.
I'm pretty sure terrible.
It's terrible.
I watched it within the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I watched off and on while it was on, and the purple whatever thing, alien creatures, they never looked convincing to me even one time in the entire movie.
Which is funny because it's obfuscated with all these effects and
Well,
fog
that's the
and stuff
thing
like
is that they must have gone into it thinking we don't need an effects budget,
Yeah.
and then it came time for the 3 or 4 moments where they showed it, and they're like, shit, we got to use MS Paint.
Yeah. Yeah, this is I think overall like the ending does make this movie.
It really does.
Even though maybe everything leading up to it may not be the most exciting thing ever.
I think it's fine though.
It's totally fine,
Yeah.
and then the ending sort of just sells it. And if you're the type that can't take those type of endings, then
My mouth just dropped.
yeah, me too.
I mean, the first time you watch it, I don't think there's any way you could actually think they're going to do what they do.
Yeah.
Well, twice. My mouth dropped twice.
Well, yeah.
Twice when he did what he did, and I was like, holy fuck. And then when the next thing happens, you're like, fuck!
Yeah.
No
It's
way!
brutal. It's
Yeah.
absolutely brutal.
This was there's just a long line of like I don't know how Frank Darabont got into this whole like I'm going to do every Stephen King
He should do
adaptation.
all of them.
He should, yeah. But this was the third one he had done, I believe. He had done Green Mile and Shawshank, obviously, but and all three of them are well worth watching, obviously.
Yeah.
Needful Things. I have not seen Needful Things.
Oh, it's good.
This is the Max von Sydow movie.
Yeah, it's just like an insular town, some town in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And this old guy, mysterious old guy, opens up a shop, and it happens to have the exact thing that you were looking for if you come in.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to, ingratiate himself more, and people become in his debt and things like that. And it's just a creepy story where it's just set in one town, and the internal politics like turn against each other, and the people that knew each other and grew up with each other, they all start interacting in weird ways when new stuff is introduced. It's good.
I just remember the trailer where JT Walsh, I believe he's in the rain and he's on the phone and he's like, I just killed my wife. Is that wrong? And then I don't know if this is how it cuts in the movie, but it cuts to Max von Sydow and he's like, hey, these things happen.
Yeah. And he's got that terrifically creepy smile.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's just one of those Stephen King stories that I really like.
I've never read a single Stephen King book. Please don't be angry. It's kind of like
motherfucker.
It's kind of like I was talking to the listeners, not you. It's kind of like the horror genre in movies for me in general. Like I don't find myself seeking out things that are intended to scare me. I don't know why. Anyway, there are two types of Stephen King movies. Movies based on books that I've heard about that are part of the general conversation in life, and movies based on Stephen King books I'd never heard of before that only Stephen King fans are probably going to go watch. Needful Things falls into that latter category.
Yeah. That's probably exactly right.
And when is there ever going to be a dark half movie, by the way? God damn it. I want that dark half movie. Yeah, it's a terrible book.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I ended up reading the dark half. I think it was in the middle of a Stephen King binge at that point.
His worst books are still entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever read a book where I haven't made it all the way to the end, or like I wasn't, engaged at least.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But I understand.
Then The Parent Trap, is that both the original and the remake?
Yep. See, that falls into the first category of Stephen King books that everyone's heard of.
Right.
The Parent Trap.
It's a deadly trap that gets parents inside. That is definitely something that Stephen King would write about.
Parent Trap is this is on
Given the setup of Parent Trap, I kind of would love to see Stephen King's take on that scenario.
Too.
Where like they switch places, but maybe they also start killing.
Yeah, and they have somehow incorporate the Shining twins in this too.
That'd be awesome.
You know what? I'm looking at it. I think it's just the remake, the Lindsay Lohan version.
Lindsay
is
Lohan?
the one in Maine. And I think that's where they meet, is in a camp in Maine. And like mom's in London and dad's in somewhere else, and then they conspire.
The bulk of the movie is not in Maine, is what you're saying?
A good part of it is because they go back to the camp. Now, is this Lindsay Lohan's first big role?
Yes.
I think it might be her first big one, yeah.
It's before Herbie and all that stuff.
Herbie,
she was, Herbie
having
was,
adolescence.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. She was having it.
When she made Herbie, she was a woman. When she made Parent Trap, she was a child. They're not even remotely close to each other. There's a whole bunch of movies in between there.
I can't remember if she had some sort of like Nickelodeon type career before, or Disney career before. No, this was her first anything, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you can tell. My wife loves this movie, so I've seen it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell she's got star power when you watch this movie.
Yeah. She was on Another World for 4 episodes in 1997. And she was also on a Late Night with David Letterman episode where she was a trick-or-treater dressed as garbage. This was in 1992. She would have
crazy
been 6.
that you kept records about that kind of thing.
Yeah, she was 6. I'm sure that her mom made sure that was in the credits.
Yes, probably.
She should have stopped there.
Yeah. But that was a star-making performance on The Parent Trap, but then she didn't do anything until 2003 with Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another remake.
And by then, she was already a teenager. So it's interesting. What do you think she was doing for the 5 years in between?
I don't know. It looked like she did a whole bunch of like TV type stuff. She was on The Wonderful World of Disney for 1 episode. She was on some TV series called Betty for 1 episode.
So I guess she just spent a few years calling casting directors going, do you know who the fuck I am? I was in Parent Trap.
And then she did something called Get a Clue. It was a TV movie. And then Freaky Friday.
Wow, that's weird.
That is weird. Freaky Friday is what really pushed her to star status.
I agree.
Because then after that, she was in everything. And, like all the trailers were like, Lindsay Lohan, Then there is Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
I will never forget. I will never know to this day how I got to watch this movie in school.
What?
In middle school.
That's fucked up.
What?
Of course,
Wow.
I just read a headline the other day about a teacher getting in trouble for like feeding turtles to something.
This was sanctioned. So it came up. It was Halloween was coming up, and so we wanted to see a horror movie or whatever for Halloween, and of course some of the dumbass kids had already seen Pet Cemetery. Like, probably when they were like 9 years old or whatever. And so like, the teachers were obviously like, I don't think we'll be able to do that. And I think the reason we were able to get away with it was that somebody mentioned that there was only 1 curse word in it. Cause there's a part where he says, where the guy's like, get the fuck off me, you hairball or something. Cause there's a cat. And that's it. And there's violence, obviously, but who cares about violence?
Yeah.
So that's how I saw Pet Cemetery.
That's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Is it any good?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
The story about how he got to see it is better than the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
sure it ruled when you were watching it in fucking middle school.
It's okay. I mean, Fred Gwynn in there. Like, you have to give Fred Gwynn a role every
Love me
now
some Fred
and then.
Gwynn.
Yeah, man. And I may even know it more for the Ramones song that came with it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got a 6.6 on IMDb. But yeah, it's it's your typical 80s Stephen King horror adaptation.
Yeah.
Then Pete's Dragon. I know that's Jeremy's favorite.
Oh my god!
Original and remake.
Why is this? No, the original is the only one.
Just the original.
Why is this movie so? I didn't watch it when we were doing the.
Then you shouldn't finish the question.
Why did you get so angry?
Have you? You just said you didn't watch it.
No, I guess not. What about this movie makes you so angry, though?
I will pay you money for you to sit beyond your normal work duties. I'll pay you extra money for you to sit and write sins to this movie. You have to watch it beginning to end and write sins. And if you don't get angry, we'll have this conversation.
Interesting. We didn't see it.
No, this was Jeremy with other writers on Pete's Dragon.
So you were on an
And this was I think this was one of the first times you introduced a Chris
Yelling at Chris
thing.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I don't realize how shitty Pete's Dragon is.
No, I know.
It's like I didn't do this to punish you or anything.
No.
You know?
But I still had to vent about it. It's got some kind of I don't even want to put it into words.
and I'm tapped into some sort of fury.
I'm not trying to be a dick. Like, I don't legitimately want you guys to have that experience, because my anger in that script is like almost as genuine as any anger in any Sins video we've ever done. Like, I was legitimately hating that movie. And I think it's just because it was throughout my childhood. I never saw it until we did the Sins video, but it has always been lumped in with all these other family films, Bedknobs and Broomsticks and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and all this stuff and most of those I had seen. And it's this cherished thing for a lot of like 80s kids. And then I get to put it in and write Sins for it, and it's like...
It's a slog, right?
I would rather watch the Emoji Movie than that.
Wow.
I would rather watch Trolls 2 than that. It's as bad as Trolls 2, only it had Disney money.
Wow.
Well, I guess... See, we're going to have to differentiate. It's Troll 2.
Troll 2, sorry.
Because there will be a Trolls 2.
I'm sure there will be a Trolls 2 with Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick.
You're right. Actually, that is important.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Shitty movie. I remember watching the video going, yeah, this looks pretty shitty.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Oh, no. I didn't realize it was that bad. Then we have the Shawshank Redemption.
There it is.
It's the stuff.
So good. So good.
It's the stuff.
It's the anti-Pete's Dragon.
It really is.
So, yes, it was filmed in Ohio, famously filmed in Ohio. I think the tree was just taken down recently in Ohio, but it's set in Maine, Shawshank Prison, as referred to in multiple Stephen King books and adaptations, is in Maine.
And Nashville's prison was in the running for this movie. It would have been awesome.
We've had our shots, though.
Yeah, we ended up getting Green Mile later.
And The Last Castle.
Yeah. But yeah, the Shawshank Redemption. What is there that we can say that we haven't said about the Shawshank Redemption at this point?
I don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah? Yeah, we haven't said that.
Yes, that's true. It's crazy.
I think a man feels more like a man if he's got a bottle of suds in his hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got nothing to say. This movie's my favorite movie of maybe ever. It's, not my favorite. It's probably the best movie ever made.
It's in the running, isn't it?
Well, it's definitely number one on the IMDb fan voting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, over time, that's become a pretty respectable list. It's not like they've got Fast and Furious 4 on there somewhere. It's up there with Casablanca and The Godfather and all these respected. And I think it's that good.
And again, it didn't make hardly any money when it came out, right?
No,
it didn't. That was the main thing that I took away from it when I was working in a movie theater was like, this is a good movie that nobody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it got nominated, and I think it got a boost. This was back in the day when nominations actually boosted your ticket sales. I think it got a boost from that. But did I ever tell you about that story? May have been holding it back for a theater story or whatever. But it's not a long one. It's just that we got Shawshank Redemption a second time that year because of Oscars, I believe. And whoever built the movie built 2 of the reels upside down.
No, that's always fun.
And so it was running, and the first time it happened, it was like, oh crap. I think it was just soundtracks were mismatched. So they had to just flip it. But then it was actually, they put the foot of the movie. The next time it happened, the actual foot of the reel came in first. So things were going backwards.
Oh, nice.
And so the second time this happened, now, I was at a theater that was not very secure, by the way. Like the projection booth had doors that were just constantly open. If you wanted to, if you were that type of person, you could just go in and walk up the steps and see projection booth people if you wanted to, or mess with the movies or whatever. This second thing happened, and then just a crowd of people came upstairs.
Oh, they came up? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
And I was not a projectionist at this point. I was just a lowly usher, but the guy who was fixing it, and he was not responsible for the movie being the way it was.
That's always fun too.
This is in the time where this theater had lost business to a new theater that had come in just 2 years prior. And so like there were people who were like, this is why you're losing business to that theater and all that and everything, even though they was the same company. And all that. And the guy who was fixing it was like, it's like, I'm going to give you refund passes and your money back and you can go home.
There you go. There you go.
He was not one to sit there and like talk to customers, especially ones who had bum rushed the projection.
That
was
shit, man.
crazy. By the way, I read the other day they're going to gender swap Shawshank with Whoopi Goldberg and never mind.
Yeah.
I've tweeted the other day that I can't tell the joke headlines from the real headlines anymore, and that's just never been more true.
Yeah.
Like I don't even have the heart to finish jokes like that anymore because they're going to do something like that. They're going to do like a Shawshank universe spin-off.
Might be Sandra Bullock.
They're going to take Shawshank Redemption and turn it into a long-form series on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, because you definitely want to watch that.
Like, I really do feel bad for anyone who's got talent and is out in Hollywood trying to become a screenwriter with original ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's got to be next to impossible to even get in the door. Sorry. Mini rant over. Move on. Maine.
Then there's
me.
The Uninvited, which is a movie I've seen. God, I don't remember anything about it.
Mm.
Emily Browning,
Yeah.
Ariel Kebel,
Mhm.
Ariel Kebel. I don't know. And Elizabeth Banks are all in
David
this movie.
Strathairn is in this.
David
too.
Strathairn, yeah. And is it Emily Browning's character that is seeing her dead mother?
Well, yeah, that's ultimately what it is.
That's a surprise.
That's the twist. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert.
It's
well.
a psychological thriller. It was like what we were talking about with that Gwyneth Paltrow, Jessica Lange movie.
I can just imagine.
Hush.
I can just imagine a person is like, I'm listening to the podcast. I've got my uninvited DVD. I'm popping it in.
God damn it, Chris!
You motherfuckers!
Oh my God! Yes. I mean,
Um,
how they get there is fine. It's like, it's an interesting story. It's
Yeah.
not that great of a movie. But
yeah, and it's got one of those like generic titles. When I saw The Uninvited, I was like, oh, is that one movie with I was thinking of
Adam Wingard movie, or
some
whatever.
other movie that has in it that was like, what was that one called?
Oh, I thought you were just making a joke that it was generic enough it could literally be anything. Like, you could call that Nicole Kidman ghost movie The Uninvited.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The Hours.
Yeah.
Not
No,
the Hours.
not the hours.
It proves her fucking point.
How many ghost movies has Nicole Kidman been
That
in?
wasn't a ghost movie. That was
It
Virginia
came out
Woolf.
the same year. The Unborn was another movie that came
all right.
out that had Odette Eustman from Cloverfield in it.
Oh.
What was that Nicole Kidman movie? The Others.
Yeah, the others.
Yeah.
I voted it best
The
of its
Others, the
year,
Hours,
and I
the
couldn't
Others, the
remember.
Hours.
I
Fuck.
know.
Yeah.
She keeps doing that.
The
She-
Hours, the
Island.
Others, Moulin Rouge. They're all the same.
Australia.
Then The Weight of Water, which I know I have heard of before, but I don't know what it is.
This is Sean Penn, who's getting super interested in Elizabeth Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean Penn is married. I think he wrote or directed this or something like that.
Catherine Bigelow directed
Oh,
it.
that's right. Yeah. And he's with his wife. They go out boating all the time. And the only thing I remember about this movie is that Elizabeth Hurley is very blatantly sunbathing topless in a ruse to seduce Sean Penn's character in front of his wife.
Oh.
But this is not a very good movie from what I remember, which is weird because I like Catherine Bigelow.
Did we ever figure out what The Weight or The Shape of Water is in either of these movies?
You know what it is? Because it's so amorphous. I think it's a play on the concept of water in that it does not shape or form or weigh anything.
You just blew my mind.
Have you guys seen that Bumblebee trailer?
I have
No.
not.
Looks okay.
Okay, move along.
Is it good?
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I was about-
But
That's
a
what I've
lot of
heard.
people are saying Shape of Water making jokes that because she's a girl that kind of a couple times hints like they're forming a relationship that may not she's not gonna fuck the robot Barry.
Okay.
I'm just saying there are a couple of shots in the trailer that mirror shots from Shape of Water, and it's a girl forming a relationship with a non-human entity. She's not going to fuck the car. But the trailer, now that I've said it looks pretty good, you're going to watch it and think it looks pretty generic.
I mean, expectations, I'm sure, were low going into it.
Well, that's what Jonathan said on Twitter. Part of the problem is that I didn't have any expectations for it, and I didn't, but it feels like the kind of movie they should have made the first time out.
That's what I hear.
I
should have had more robot fucking in the original Transformers.
I mean, who's to say they won't go that direction eventually?
Worked for Guillermo del Toro.
Once they fully establish the Transformers cinematic universe, they can hire like auteur directors to come in and take them in extreme directions. So they could have like a sex Transformers movie, and they could have like a heist Transformers movie.
Mm-hmm.
They could do what the MCU's doing.
Definitely.
Only the MCU hasn't done the sex movie yet. You realize? I mean, the only reason they haven't is because even though that movie should make all the money, everyone would be too ashamed to buy tickets in public for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I'd get in there. Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Like Captain
Scarlet Witch
America,
and Vision.
Captain America, orgy.
Yeah. Captain America, orgy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would be like,
it's like Civil War meets Caligula.
Yeah, exactly. You would be like, give me 2 tickets to that orgy movie.
Remember when we had that Menage a Trois movie that came to Hollywood?
Oh, it was just called Trois.
It was called Trois,
Yeah.
but people kept asking for tickets to Troy's.
Yeah. Yeah. That bit, man, box office is a hilarious. Like the way people ask for movies a lot of times. Most people get the movie right, you know?
Right.
But then there's always people who like either mispronounce or they'll confuse 2 movies for one. I remember when the movie The Last Mimsy and then there was Meet the Robinsons. Those 2 movies were out at the same time. This woman came up with her kid and she goes, "That's like the adult and a child for Meet the Mimsy." And you actually had to sit there and go,
"Hang on,
which one?"
Oh my god.
That brings us to, of course, Welcome to Mooseport.
Oh boy,
Is this a terrible, terrible movie?
no,
Yeah. Oh,
it's just one terrible.
One terrible.
You're not wrong. It's not good. It's bad.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think it's like as bad as its reputation. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is the long-awaited team-up of Gene Hackman and Ray Romano.
Yeah.
Yes, we were all clamoring for this.
Yeah, but some sort of, I remember it being some sort of political comedy.
Oh yeah,
thing.
You don't know much about it?
I saw it. I don't
saw it.
remember anything about it.
I saw most of it probably 6 months ago.
Really?
Maybe this needs to be said. I feel like it kind of goes without saying. My TV is always on in my quote unquote office.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm paying attention to it. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm half paying attention to work and half paying attention to the TV. But the TV is always on, and I've always flipped to something that I might enjoy or haven't seen in a while when I do want to turn away from my computer screen to look at the TV. So I have seen most of Welcome to Mooseport in the last 6 months. He's a former president. Gene Hackman is.
Mm-hmm.
Former president of the United States, who's retiring to this tiny little town and decides to run against Ray Romano for like mayor, or I think it's mayor. But because he's a former president, there's a media storm, and Ray Romano's dating Maura Tierney, and Gene Hackman starts asking her out.
Yeah.
She's been waiting for Ray Romano to pop the question, and she's tired of waiting, so she's kind of interested. And it's the kind of movie Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau would have hit out of the park back in their heyday.
Would have been a My Fellow Americans 2 or something.
Yeah, but it doesn't really work. It's not that anybody's bad in it, but it is kind of like an extended Everybody Loves Raymond episode in terms of the tone and the humor. And so, it's fairly harmless. I don't think it's going to offend anybody with its quality.
Yeah,
But,
it offended Gene Hackman enough not to work for 14 years and counting.
I guess.
He's done.
I still think there's something going on there we haven't been told. Like somebody's got naked pictures of him or something.
Don't you ever make another movie again, Gene.
Yeah.
Your dong will be exposed.
I know he's upset. He'd be very upset about that.
I mean, because it's not like every movie he made before Welcome to Mooseport was a home run.
Well, no, and there was a time there where you could count on Gene Hackman being in like 5 movies in a year sometimes. He was, in 2001 alone, by the way, Behind Enemy Lines, The Royal Tannenbaums, Heist, Heartbreakers, The Mexican. All 5 he was in those. And there was a point where just Mexican. I don't think he was in it very long.
No, he's at the very end.
Yeah. But there was a time there you could count on him being in 3-4 movies a lot
of varying quality, like Heist and Royal Tenenbaums versus Heartbreakers.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, and that brings us to our last one in Maine, Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's
very
a good one.
funny. I've seen this a couple of times now, and I've seen the 2 Netflix series just once, but I really like this. I like David Wayne stuff.
Yeah. That's just that hits me right in the gut.
Yeah.
What else has he done?
Role Models is the
okay.
And then he was one of the big guys that was I guess he was one of the creators behind The State that was on MTV and everything. And that's sort of a tree because you got Thomas Lennon and
Michael Showalter.
Michael Ian Black.
Yeah, Michael Ian Black. A lot of those guys came from The State and everything. Yeah, David Wayne, and he's done some other stuff that I haven't liked. Like what was that movie with Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd?
Wanderlust.
Yeah. I didn't like that very much.
But you liked A Futile and Stupid Gesture, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I like that quite a bit. And there's something about him. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I don't know how to classify his comedic style, but it's halfway between like, goofy jokes. And I don't know, there's some good heart to it as well.
And then there's deadpan, and then there's absurdism.
Yeah,
there's that sequence.
Mixes it up.
Yeah, there's this sequence in Wet Hot American Summer where they're like, I'm going into town, get me some tampons, give me some pens, give me this and everything. And then they roll in, and they immediately start drinking, and then they start smoking some weed, and then they start doing blow, and then they're fucking shooting up in the and they go back, and they're like, man, that was a long afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And stuff like where Michael Showalter character is really in love with the one of the girls there, and he's like, I think they've struck up a friendship. It's like they've been at camp all summer, and this is the first day that they're friends or whatever. Yeah. But he wants to be with her and everything, and she starts walking off. It's Marguerite Moreau's character. And he goes, I want you inside me. and she goes, what? And he goes, oh, good luck, good summer.
Great.
But yeah, just man, that movie's just that. I don't know if it even has a high IMDb rating, but I think people who really get into Wet Hot American Summer rate that extremely high, like one of the best comedies they've ever seen.
An amazing ensemble. David Hyde Pierce,
yeah,
Chris Maloney, Janine Garofalo, H. John Benjamin.
Yeah. As
Paul Rudd,
the
of course.
voice of a can of beans.
Exactly. Like an Elizabeth Banks and like this Amy Poehler, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
It's insane the level of, and it's funny that Michael Showalter is the main character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. You should check it out. If you haven't checked it out, I'm not a huge fan of the stuff that came later on, the series, and then the 10 years later thing.
The series are okay. I liked the first one. It was the before the prequel one. The prequel one was fine. The 10 years later one was a little bit maybe too goofy for me because they go through all this nonsense. And then by the end of it, they just acknowledge that it's nonsense and just go with it. And I'm like, sorry, can't. Yeah. A really good one to end our main discussion. Man. Although there are a few others here that you've written down. Bag of Bones, I've never seen that.
Another Stephen King.
Bluebird, never seen that. I've seen the first Creep Show. I've never seen Creep Show 2.
It's even creepier.
Wait a minute. There is a dark half?
There is a dark half.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't realize because I was looking up here and it was down here.
Okay. Yeah. So there was a dark half. Yes. That just goes to show. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dreamcatcher, which I have seen.
Yeah. Is that the one with Anthony Hopkins?
No.
That's Hearts of
Freeman.
Atlantis. That's right.
Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Any good?
Damian Lewis is
in it, yeah.
It's like... It's just good enough to keep you watching.
It's average.
Just good enough to disappoint you.
I think I've talked about it before. It had the Animatrix
that's right. Yeah.
opening on it, and that people would come out and say, this is not the movie I paid for, even though it was Dreamcatcher. Who actually paid for it? Then there was Empire Falls, which don't think I've seen Empire Falls. Graveyard Shift. I have seen this. I saw this at the old Bellevue Theater before it became a 10-plex, whatever Carmike was at the time, when it was a 3-plex, actually. Not a very good movie. Another Stephen King adaptation. Hope Springs. I never saw that. It's not Hope Floats, though. No Hope Floats.
I might have seen this. Not that you should look it up to tell me who's in it. Look it up. Tell me who's in it.
2012. Vanessa Taylor, written by Meryl Streep, Tommy Lee Jones, Steve Carell.
And what's the name of it again?
Hope Springs.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
The Langoliers, which is a book that I always heard about. I never read it. I've never seen this. It was a miniseries?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
They're making it again.
Are they really?
I'm almost positive this is one of those that's in development. And it's somebody, I think it's like somebody up and coming who's like kind of spearheading it.
You have Poison Ivy, but then you write the Michael J. Fox version?
Yes, apparently there is a Michael J. Fox.
I've seen the other Poison Ivy.
Yes, I have too.
Yeah.
There's a Michael J. Fox Poison Ivy?
Yes. It aired, it was a made-for-TV movie that aired right before Back to the Future came out in 1985.
Really?
Yes.
Well, now I want to watch that.
Huh.
What could it possibly be? It's not about what the other Poison Ivy movies are about.
No.
At least I doubt it.
He's a camp counselor in a boys' summer camp.
Never mind.
Then there's Salem's Lot, which I've never read or seen.
I cannot grow old
even
in
know
Salem's Lot. So here we go with my shot. Feet fail me not. This may be the only opportunity that I got.
That's all we know about Salem's Lot. Is that Eminem referred to it.
Salem's Lot was the vampire one.
Yeah,
with the father.
I didn't even know it was about vampires. It's one of those books that I'd always heard about from Stephen King and never was interested enough to read it. So. Then the Tommyknockers, another book I've never read. And then Vacation Land. I have no idea.
I think maybe Stephen King needs to get out more.
Probably so.
Possible.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because there comes a point where you would think, just for variety's sake, for his own entertainment, he would set something outside of Maine.
Yeah.
And
he's doing all right with it.
By the way, I know that some people have come on Facebook and they've been like, when you ever get to this state, be sure to. And if this is one of those states and we didn't get to whatever, sorry.
Yeah.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah. No, we covered all the ones that we have seen that are set there.
Yeah.
We're human beings, not humans doing.
Well, the thing is, a lot of times these suggestions are like, be sure to watch this movie you've never heard of and this movie from 1993 or whatever, and you're like, okay.
Well, it's the tone of a lot of those comments would have been somebody suggesting this Poison Ivy Michael J. Fox movie we've never heard of.
Yeah. And not to say don't give me suggestions. It's just that I don't have time to watch those movies a lot of times, and occasionally I'll get to it and I'll watch something, but yeah, for something like this where everybody's giving suggestions for their state.
I will say this regarding suggestions in a general sense, not about the podcast, but if you're asking me to send a movie that has only been open in the theaters for a week, you can stop sending me suggestions.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so are we ready to move on to our other things?
Yes, so we're going back to our format that we had a few weeks ago that we started at the beginning of the year, where we go through our rants, some news, some recommendations, and some warns, and some questions.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to rant first?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell!
You've never seen me very upset.
The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt came back on Netflix.
Yeah.
4th season. And I did not read anything about it. I just went ahead and started watching episodes of it and everything because I love that show. And I was about 5 episodes in when I saw, an actor or somebody came up that I was like, oh, who is that? And I noticed on the episode list that there were 6 episodes. I was near the end of this comeback for them already. And
how many episodes are normally in a season?
10, I believe.
Okay.
They are doing what a lot of networks are doing with their big shows and splitting up their final season into 6 episodes each.
That's annoying.
Why does Netflix have to do this?
Yeah, it makes more sense for a show like Game of Thrones than Netflix.
Like with HBO, you constantly have to have programming on your station.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of people, yes, do have HBO Go where they can just go and do like Netflix only with HBO, but with Netflix, it's an on-demand service. So I don't understand. I don't think anybody except the guy who runs Netflix understands why they need to have 6 episodes of Kimmy Schmidt here and then 6 just so happens to be January of 2019, where they're obviously trying to optimize their year. And I don't know why that matters for Netflix at all. Don't understand how that factors. Like, how is their business running like any other business?
Yeah, because if you're a network, even if you're HBO, you build up not only the anticipation for the new season, but you build up episode to episode because you don't just release everything and then just binge everything. So yeah, it's a completely different model. Either you do like what Letterman is doing on Netflix, where you release a new episode every month, then you start kind of getting some anticipation, evenly distributed, or you just do it all in one season. Yeah, you're right. I don't understand why this would.
I didn't realize also, as much as I love the show, that it was that much of a tentpole for them that they would cut it into two halves of a season. Like, this is something that's going to get more subscribers for you in 2019 is the last half of the 4th season of a show.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Is there air? You don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that. Like the whole the whole business model of Netflix is so weird and secretive. Would we be surprised in 5 years that we found out that something was really fucked up about
I would not.
Okay, no, because they are burning money.
Yeah.
They are burning it. Now, the only reason I would think that that's not going to happen is that Netflix has shareholders. And so the shareholders know what's being viewed. There's some measure of information they have to give to shareholders in terms of revenue, if not viewing statistics. And so sooner or later, if the revenue is not there, people are going to stop giving them money, right? But right now, it's not dissimilar to Elon Musk's companies like Tesla and SpaceX, where they're both losing money hand over fist, but they're also raking in billions in investors because the potential income down the road is still so huge. So we'll let you lose millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars because you might make us trillions and trillions of dollars in 10 years. So it may be that kind of thing too, where they're still on some kind of planned track but I don't know how you could, like next year they're going to release even more than they did this year in terms of shows and movies. And some of them are just blips on the radar that nobody ever talks about. And then some of them are like 13 Reasons Why, which for some reason gets a 2nd season and now has just announced a 3rd season.
Really?
And you know what the CEO said when they asked him about it? You don't have to watch it. Like, he's getting a little testy about like people asking, why would you make 3 seasons of this show that has caused so much controversy? Well, obviously the answer is so many people are watching it. I don't give a damn what you say.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll never understand. I won't understand this. I don't know how you optimize your year like a regular business does by saying, here's a tent pole for us in 2019, the last half of a season. Like, because Netflix is a subscriber-based thing, and the more subscribers they get is the more money they get, is what we always assume is how they get their money, but they probably get more money from other things. I don't know.
Still, they are spending the fuck out.
Oh my God, they have so many shows and movies and everything that they're making, and you don't get to see grosses from that. You get to, why
don't we call them up on the next episode?
We should.
And record it and see if we can greenlight a project within the time it takes for us.
The South Park episode did, where like they called Netflix and they said, hello, you're greenlit. Tell me your idea.
That's like LA Story. Hi, my name's Bob. I'll be your robber tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my rant.
Nice. I'm going to keep it with streaming services for my rant. My wife and I finally decided after much foot dragging to sign up for Hulu, because mostly The Handmaid's Tale has received enough acclaim and awards that I decided I want to watch this, and I can only watch it if I have Hulu. So even if I sign up for Hulu and 3 months later I'm done with that show and I get rid of it, so be it. It's worth it to me. Plus, if they've got Seinfeld, excellent background binge show. So last night, the night before, I'm signing up for Hulu. And on the screen where I have to give them my name, first and last name, and my email address, there's a required field for my gender. And there's only M and F. Now, plenty of people will be triggered about this for plenty of reasons, and they're all probably valid. I'm not personally triggered. Like, I wasn't angry on behalf of trans people that they only gave 2 options. I'm angry from a logic standpoint that you believe knowing my gender is somehow going to help you or me in this situation. And you hover over the little question mark, and it says some gobbledygook about this is so we can serve you better.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. It's so they can sell my information about my behavior to other people.
Exactly.
And mostly that's to the people who own Hulu.
And this is 2018,
NBC,
by the way.
And like, there's no reason it should be a question you ask that's required.
Right.
You want to ask it, and I volunteer it, fine. It's extra wonky because just like Netflix, I'm the one signing up for it, but my wife is going to be the one spending 99% of the time on it. And she doesn't like anything like I like. And nothing that she likes comes from her gender. She doesn't like... It's not like she's going to go, I'm going to find all the girly shows. I'm going to watch all the girly shows. She likes gnarly documentaries about skulls and crime. And there's skulls. That we're still in an era where you think my gender dictates my tastes.
I know, yeah.
Is troublesome. It's most troubling to me that they're trying to sell it to me as a part of their service they're going to feed back to me. When after I clicked the button to advance, the next thing I did was pick from this list of things you like so we'll know what your tastes are. Well, why did you need my goddamn gender?
Yeah.
You want to sell it to somebody. You need to be able to tell whoever you're selling the info to that I'm a man or a woman, because it matters to that advertiser who's buying that.
Yeah, 9% of the demographic.
It's a demographic play.
Whoever watches 13 Reasons Why or Seinfeld or whatever it is.
And it fucking pissed me off. Became a rant. Now I'm done.
Nice.
I will say this, though, but beyond that, which is totally fucked up, by the way, I love watching Hulu on that Oculus Go thing, man.
Oh, yeah?
That is cool.
Because the Hulu app inside that thing, and now we're talking about both Hulu and Facebook. Wow, what a bunch of privacy we have there.
Yes, sir.
But they have that Hulu app, and it makes it look like a huge ass movie screen, and you can watch, Handmaid's Tale and stuff like that on basically what appears to be a movie screen. Now, obviously, not a big group thing. You just have your headset, and whatever. But if you're just watching by yourself and everything, it's so fucking.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to give that a whirl.
Yeah,
especially now that I got the Hulus.
The Hulus,
and that they know that you're either male or female.
That's right.
They know I'm a male, and now I'm gonna fuck up their data because my wife's gonna go in there and watch all kinds of shit. That
no, you should go in and watch some of the fucked up movies they have on Hulu now.
I bet they do have some fucked up movies.
They do.
Wrong Turn 6.
I'm gonna find.
They have a lot of very obscure movies. They have some that you have definitely seen or heard of before. But yeah, you could really mess up.
I'm going to find Naked Lunch and just play it on repeat.
Yes.
Over and over. And in 6 months, it's going to be like some intern at Hulu scurrying down to his boss's office.
Is if they have all this information that you've watched. What was the movie you just
Naked
said?
Lunch.
Naked Lunch. That you've watched Naked Lunch over and over. And then they also have underneath that, you make it what's the Cupcake Wars or whatever. They have that.
This is the most fucked up person in the universe.
I can think of at least 2 things wrong with that title.
Yes. Maybe he's just hungry. He was watching Cupcake Wars, and then he thought that he could find something in Naked Lunch.
What was The Simpsons where Milhouse and Bart cut school and they go to see Naked Lunch?
No, it's
is it
Spring
the Knoxville?
Break.
Yeah, and that's what he was referring to there.
They see Naked Lunch.
That was Nelson who says that. I can think of 2 things wrong with that title.
They're complaining because they're out of money and out of gas and they're stuck in Knoxville. And Nelson's like, on the plus side, at least I knocked over the Sun Sphere.
Yeah.
My rant is born about that I've been a captive audience by watching sports with the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs. And you have to sit through some commercials before you can, get up and do whatever. And you come back, and I keep hearing these voices on these commercials, and I recognize them. And it's people like George Clooney and Ed Harris and John Hamm and Jimmy Kimmel and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this must be for their show. No, it's for Dunkin' Donuts, or it's for DQ, or it's for Ford, or something like that. And it got me thinking, like, why the fuck? Now, these are Americans. We've all heard about, like, the old stories of people going overseas and recording a commercial. It's the Lost in Translation thing, where you do some sort of wacky Japanese ad or something like that, or a voiceover for something, and it's never heard from again. But these are now established, well-paid A-list actors that are now going on ads and doing voiceover for these ads, where it's not like they're lending their star power to it and their face and things like that. They're literally reading the copy. Whereas there have to be thousands of qualified voiceover artists that are available to do these things and do them just as well, if not better. Why do we need this? It's not going to sell the brand harder. I guess maybe they've got some analytics that say that it does. It took me forever to figure out that Ed Harris was the voice behind those Home Depot commercials.
Well, that's the thing, is that I never even can tell. Like you were mentioning, you could hear George Clooney or what have you. When I read that list that you sent in show prep, I didn't know any of those commercials had those had famous voices. Because, you would think, of all people, that's something I pay attention to because I'm like a nitpicker and everything. But no, I'm always surprised when I find out. And they're just throwing money away on a George Clooney when you could get a guy. There actually is a Morgan Freeman sound-alike out there that was used in a couple of campaign ads and ultimately had some kind of legal action taken against him by Morgan Freeman. Oh, that's funny. So they had to like dial down his Morgan Freeman-ness a little bit. But you can get a sound-alike for $5 on the website Fiverr. Right? And the angle is correct that you're taking. It is taking work away from voice actors. Voice acting is a profession in and of itself. Dicer could speak to this more than I could because he's done some of this. There's a marketplace out there. The guy that taught us radio in college is a voice actor and has been doing that for 20 years. He's not getting work if you're looking for your George Clooney. The only time this ever works is when the celebrity in question has a singular voice that cannot be. It's basically the Sam whatever for beef. It's what's for dinner.
Yeah, Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. Yeah, if you don't have a voice that's instantly, I got his name wrong after I'm talking about instantly recognizable. But if it's not that singular a sound, then there's no reason to hire a famous person.
There is a reason. I understand that they hired Dennis Leary to do the Ford truck commercials. He's got he's doing the rant and Ford trucks are you can go out and you can smash like a puppy with your wrench and shit like that. But like the rest of these, and let me read you just a list off the top of my fucking head that I came up with. Jimmy Fallon doing Xfinity. Again, all voiceovers. No, like, star power lent to it.
Yeah, they don't even put their names or pictures on these ads.
You have no idea. George Clooney for Budweiser. John Hamm for American Airlines. Dennis Leary for Ford, as I mentioned. John Krasinski for BlackBerry. Yeah. John Goodman for Dunkin' Donuts. And Ed Harris for Home Depot. Julia Roberts does one of these. Like, again, you're throwing money away and you're taking away a cottage industry that could save you money and sell your product just as well.
Yeah. No, that's a solid rant because there's a couple different ways to crack that nut.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, let's run through news because I can't wait to get to recommend and warns.
News on the mark.
What's your news?
Do we care about the Jared Leto Joker standalone movie?
Aside from the fact that it annoys me on like a cellular level.
I have a theory that borders on defamation.
All right.
Yeah, bring it.
In an alternate universe, Jared Leto made Suicide Squad with the promise of more screen time and his own standalone film. Suicide Squad came out and made a bunch of money, but no one liked it. Mm-hmm. And the majority of Batman fans did not like Leto's Joker. Mm-hmm. He was cut from the film more than he wanted. He was unhappy about this, but has somehow enough leverage that after all this went down, he went into some producer's office and did the Lego Batman on the floor roll around rant. No. And somebody said, all right, just give him a standalone Joker movie and we'll just move on with our lives. Yeah. That is potentially what might have happened in that alternate universe that isn't here.
I could see it.
Yeah. you almost have to feel like that is what happened, right? Because
it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
I feel like you would be sort of working your way away from that, but maybe there's enough people who love Suicide Squad out there that.
I mean, here's the thing. Why do we want to see a Joker movie? The best times that the Joker has been featured in media has been The Dark Knight, where he was best supporting actor.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that certainly a bunch, but he was a supporting character. Jack Nicholson's Joker in Batman. Mark Hamill's Joker in the animated series. Not in there all the time. No. It's a Batman story with a side of Joker.
And we already have this Scorsese-produced standalone Joker origin film.
Exactly, which I also have very little interest in.
Yeah, so why make this both of these too? Like you're gonna make both an origin story Joker, which is probably going to be handled with care and look really good, and then you're going to fuck that up by putting the Jared Leto one in there.
And they're both DC properties too, right?
Yeah, they're both DC. They're both Warner Brothers. Yeah, I don't understand why you would do this.
Let me ask you something. 30 Seconds to Mars is kind of having a little bit of a moment in the last few months. Airplay, multiple songs. What was once a joke-worthy throwaway band from a rock star is becoming an actual legit commercial success in the music scene. Could corporate favors, synergy have anything to do with any of this?
Possibly. I mean, I guess they're selling records.
Skeptical of everything, but I'm extra skeptical about this announcement because it makes no goddamn sense.
It's crazy.
It's almost like they're seeing how people will react to it, and then probably at the last minute when nobody's looking, we shelved
Let's scrap that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case too.
Yeah,
where they throw out an announcement and see how it
they
plays.
Literally said this to get him out of their office.
Yeah,
I mean,
I will release it, Jared. It's fine.
They were Dormammu and he was Doctor Stranging them. Give me my own movie. I've come to bargain. Get him the fuck off the lot already. Whatever it takes.
This fucking guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's the ultimate. This fucking guy.
Yeah. I think that they would be extremely. This would be a huge mistake to come out with this awesome Joker movie that I have in my mind, and then come out with the Jared Leto version not too long after that.
Yep.
It's confusing. It's not going to be the same storyline or anything.
Yeah.
And it's a second Joker movie, and people don't have very good feelings about that.
Yeah.
That portrayal.
Not only his portrayal of the character as an actor, but the way they chose to portray the character as more of a crime lord than.
Yeah. Who was behind that? Who was like, I'm going to die on that hill. That was the greatest representation of the Joker I've ever seen.
I don't know, but he sent somebody a rat in a box, so that's all I'll call it. Awesome.
Yeah.
My news, so I read a headline today, and I would call it a roller coaster, but it's really more like one of those rides where it just takes you straight up and then drops you. I'm going to read it to you with pauses, the way I read it, and I was excited up until the last part of the headline. Brian De Palma is making a horror movie. Inspired by... The downfall of Harvey Weinstein.
A horror movie.
You tell me Brian De Palma's making a horror movie, I'm in. I'm all the way in. And then you tell me it's inspired by the downfall of Harvey Weinstein?
Now, I wonder about that, because I wonder if it's one of those things where the Harvey Weinstein thing sort of spurred an idea, and it's not really about that.
Well, I'm not expecting it to be about that, but it's still the end of that headline killed all my joy.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's like when you hear Paul Thomas Anderson is making a movie about Scientology, but then he ends up making The Master.
Well, you please choose a better example, because I'm not as big a fan of that movie as you are.
Well, I understand
but you're
that,
right.
But
like you say, Paul Thomas Anderson is making a movie about a 200 years ago dressmaker. That doesn't sound very exciting, but Phantom Thread turned out to be pretty good. So yeah, I get that it could still be good.
But a lot of the stuff that De Palma is known for in his thrillers, there's a lot of that, like psychosexual, behavior type stuff that I could see being inspired by that type of thing. Like, it's a horror movie, yes, it's but it's not going to be this film exec, is inviting women up to his apartment every night. It's not that type of thing.
I hope it's not.
Has he ever made a horror movie before?
Huh?
Has De Palma ever made a horror movie before?
What you would? Yeah, he did Carrie.
Oh yeah, Carrie.
And then there's a lot of the stuff that he's done, even though they're more thrillers than horror movies. Have horror elements. Like Body Double is not a horror movie, but it's got horror elements in it. There's no way you're not going to be afraid of seeing the bad guy for the first time in that movie. And then there's just I don't know if he's done anything that's straight horror after that though. The Fury might have been one. I think The Fury might have been a horror movie, but I'm not sure. But Carrie is the ultimate one.
Not to be confused with Fury, the Brad Pitt tank movie.
That's right.
Well, speaking of horror, and this is like a big divisive thing in the horror community. I'm getting this information from our buddies over at Modern Horror. But the Suspiria remake is coming out later this year, and it's got your girl Chloe Grace Moretz and Dakota Johnson, and it's got Tilda Swinton and a bunch of very good actresses. Interestingly, Tom York, not Johnny Greenwood, is doing the score. So another Radiohead connection. To my knowledge, I don't know if Tom York has ever done a movie score.
No, he did a song. Was the song at the end of The Prestige was what he did?
Oh. You rung some kind of bell there.
Because I believe that's just Tom York and not Radiohead. There's one of these movies ends with a Tom York song, and I can't remember what it is.
Interesting. But anyway, he scored the trailer. The trailer just came out the other day. Now, I love Suspiria, the original, 1977 Dario Argento horror classic. And it's weird, and it's crazy, and it's beautifully shot, and it's Italian and shit. And like, I'm on board. And I'm fine with the remake because of how it looks and the cast and all that stuff. And the trailer came out. The trailer is gorgeous. It looks awesome. The music is fantastic. I'm legitimately excited for this movie. And for some reason, it's, I guess, getting divisive responses because people didn't want to see it remade.
Oh, I didn't know that. Everything I've seen has been positive. Everybody's just buzzing about this trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were people that were bummed about it.
Yeah, I mean, Suspiria is definitely in the horror canon, but I don't think a lot of people have seen it. I've never even heard near
of it.
The level
if you're a
of
horror
The Exorcist.
Fan, you've seen it probably.
Yeah.
If you avoid horror like me, it's off your radar entirely.
But
I think it's off of a lot of people's radar.
I mean, I saw it probably 10 years ago or so. I haven't seen it since, but it's not a movie that you would normally go to a Blockbuster or something back in the day and be able to just immediately see it readily available.
Yeah, it's got really interesting. If they do follow the same story, it's about like a ballet dancer and like her introduction to this society, this school. And it's really, really interesting. It's creepy. It's very atmospheric. I can't wait for this movie. It's going to be. I'm very excited for it.
By the way, that Tom York song was at the end of Prestige. It's called Analyze.
That was a good pull.
Yeah,
cool. All right, let's go to recommends and warns. I can't wait.
Was it Analyze or Analyze?
Analyze.
I'm an analyst.
It's got that British misspelling of analyze where it doesn't have the Z.
Where it has an extra H in there.
Yeah. Whereas like
there's a 7.
It's like I remember I was talking to someone who was British and like she was like she's like you Americans, you always put those Z's in your words and everything. I don't understand it. And at first I was like, Z's. Oh, the Z's.
Who are all these British people you're talking to?
Well, one of them was because one worked with Mark Robertson at Real SEO.
Oh, that's right.
And then the other person, I do not remember why, but he just happened to be from Great Britain.
Interesting.
And so, I knew a guy in New York who was from Great Britain.
You sound like you're from London.
Yes.
All right, recommends.
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Recommends.
I will recommend. There are 2 movies. First, last night I saw Film Worker, which is the Leon Vitali movie. He's the guy who helped Stanley Kubrick.
Did you see this at the Belcourt?
I did.
Awesome.
I saw this at the Belcourt with Josh Childs.
Oh, excellent.
It's about the guy who man, he ran himself into the ground for Stanley Kubrick, man.
Wow. Was he a production assistant or was he?
He was an
actor.
He was an actor. He was in Barry Lyndon.
Right.
He's one of the main guys in Barry Lyndon. And there's a scene in there where Ryan O'Neal has to like hit him and stuff. And apparently they had to do that like 30 times. He was actually hitting him. And you see Ryan O'Neal, and Ryan O'Neal's in this movie. And he's like, I felt really bad about having to do that. You know, when you're working with the maestro, you know, that type of thing. But Leon Vitale was in Barry Lyndon, and after that, he had this taste for wanting to be behind the camera, and so he got an invite from Kubrick to do stuff on The Shining. And so he, like, basically, the first thing he asked him to do was to find his Danny Lloyd.
Mm.
So he was like, how would you like to go to America and find my Danny Lloyd? So that was the first thing that he did. But then it was just, like, it's from something as like that to he was responsible for looking at his prints frame by frame for the right coloring and wrangling in actors. He's one of the big reasons why Arlie Ermey is the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket. There's
because he found him as an actual drill sergeant.
Yeah,
right?
that's a great. Oh my God, they show the guy who was supposed to be the drill sergeant in that. He ends up in the movie. He's the guy who's like, because I'm so fucking good. That guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy who was the drill sergeant. But they go through this whole thing. He's got the part. He's in a Kubrick movie. He's going to be one of the main parts. And like, then he had to go and like, so like this Vitale's like shooting Arlie Ermey with all these actors doing this stuff, and Ermey's like, I'm gonna say a whole bunch of stuff to you, and if you can make it through that, then maybe you can make it on through the next thing. Ermey's like, I knew as soon as he showed that footage to Kubrick would call me in the next day. Sure enough, he calls him in the next day to take this part, and then he had to go and tell this dude that, I'm sorry, you're not going to be in this movie, and all that. So there's stuff like that. But this guy just very much just like did everything that Stanley Kubrick asked of him. And if you even heard of the rumors or the legend of Stanley Kubrick, you know that the guy is very demanding, one of the most demanding people of all time, to the point of nearly abuse. And if maybe not even, I shouldn't even probably soft toss it there. It's to abuse. And this guy, man, he looks so worn down, man. But he's the eminent, Kubrick expert.
Huh.
And he's the guy who, you're going to go to when you remaster a Blu-ray or a DVD or whatever, and like get the color just right on everything and all that. And yeah, Kubrick ran him through the ringer, man. It's worth watching.
Did he like him? Did they have a good relationship?
Yeah, he said he says he loves Kubrick, but man, do you think about the stuff that Kubrick made that guy go through and everything? I wonder what Kubrick would have done without him. But this is all from one man's perspective too.
Sure.
He never once personally says, "Oh, I don't know what Kubrick would have done without me." He doesn't think that way. I, as a viewer, sat there and thought that. But definitely worth seeing if you can run across it. But watch that. I had another one written down, but I think I'll just go ahead and stay with film work.
It's kind of sad how many of our old-timey great directors were like abusive.
Yeah. Yeah. Hitchcock, Kubrick.
Yep. Orson Welles wasn't abusive as much as he was. I mean, he has a reputation of being super demanding.
Yeah.
Anyway, are we going to go back through on Warns?
Yeah, let's do the recommends first.
All right, so recommend is one that just recently came on Stars from last year that I never saw, Only the Brave, which is this Josh Brolin firefighter smoke jumper movie. Actually, when it came out, I couldn't help but think of that Smoke Jumpers movie that was in Entourage that Anthony Chase goes to me. I remember, I think it was Dicer. I think I remember watching his review of this when it came out, and he seemed genuinely high on it. And that's really, I kind of forgot about it. Forgot it existed. Like, Miles Teller is basically the lead in this movie other than Josh Brolin. And honestly, he could be played by anyone in this. His character could. But it came on because every Saturday I go to HBO and Stars to check to see what's coming on new. And it's not every Saturday that something is, but usually when they have new movies that are just hitting the service, it's going to be Saturday night at 7 or 8 o'clock on HBO or Stars. And so this one was Blade Runner 2049 on HBO and Only the Brave on Starz. And I was like, well, I've seen one of these movies, so I'm going to devote my time to the one I have not seen. And I'm watching this movie, and it's pretty good. About halfway through, I realized it was a true story.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. And it, I think, changed for the better how I was experiencing the film. Because when I believed it was fiction, I was nowhere near as attached to these characters. And once I Googled it and found out it was based on reality, like a switch was flipped for me. And I became more invested. And that's a little bit weird, but it is what it is. I didn't think Miles Teller was anything special. Josh Brolin is super subdued, especially compared to what he's been doing lately. Much more like No Country Josh Brolin than anything he's been in the last 5 years. Solid, just solid.
Only the Brave. What a time. Innocuous title.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that you don't think about, like, I think the average person, when they think about firefighters, they think about city firefighters and the trucks and the hoses and the buildings on fire. But these firefighters are fighting wildfires in the forest. Their job mainly consists of burning, mainly consists of cutting a line and burning in advance of the fire's arrival so that when the fire hits, there's nothing left to burn and it dies. And so you get to see a lot during the training, because Miles Teller is sort of like this, I don't know how much of this is fictionalized, but he's sort of like this, you've been given one last chance a bunch of different times, no one's going to give you another chance, and then Josh Brolin's like, I will, because no one ever gave me a chance either. So he takes him onto the team, and I enjoyed it more than I expected to.
Cool.
So there you go.
These innocuous titles, though, we've
you.
talked about this already in this podcast, but they have to do better than this, right? Because that Only the Brave, I am instantly reminded of The Brave One, the Jodie Foster Death Wish movie.
Well, and I was immediately reminded of the 12's horse soldier.
Yeah, exactly. And see, there's a situation where like, was it 12 Strong?
Yeah, 12 Strong.
Yeah, that's a situation where they've made a generic title, but then they came up with this super long ass who gives a shit type of thing. And it's like, I'm sure that's a great story, but man, you made it unspecial with that title.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I do judge a book by its cover. Give me something that I want to go see.
And there's plenty in this movie they could have done that would have told you what it was better with the title than Only the Brave.
Yeah.
But I think it was that true story angle. Again, same as the 12 Strong. It's a true story. It kind of makes you want a more heartfelt romantic title.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work as well for marketing purposes.
Yeah.
But
Flame blower.
I'm actually more interested to talk about my Wreck-A-Warren than this one, but I would recommend this movie to you.
I can't wait either. Okay, so my recommend is on Netflix. It's an anthology series called Easy. Another innocuous title, by the way.
Yep.
I have been saw this title many, many times, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. And then I was reading a review in Rolling Stone that referenced Easy. Joe Swanberg is the guy who did it. I'm quoting, it's a mumblecore type of pioneer. And this is a lot of that. He also directed Drinking Buddies and a few other things. Several other things, actually. And so I read this really glowing review about it. The second season came out fairly recently. And so I was like, all right, it's an anthology series, so you don't have to watch all of the things just to get right into it. It takes place in different vignettes in the city of Chicago. And because I'm into Chicago porn whenever I can, I love watching shows and movies about Chicago. And I like Swanberg. I like the stuff that he does, and I like kind of his genre too. And the actors that are in this are unfucking believable. You've got in the episodes that I saw, you had Aubrey Plaza, you had Hannibal Buress, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Dave Franco, Zazie Beetz, Orlando Bloom, Malin Ackerman, Katie Micucci. And those are just in the episodes that I saw. There's a million people in these.
I'm surprised Anna Kendrick's not in one of those.
Well, I'll get to Anna Kendrick soon, though.
Oh, yeah?
This show is very, very good. And then at times, it is great. It's a slice of life. It's done in his conversational, improvisational style. And there are some times where you look at a relationship, and a lot of it is about, a relationship after marriage, and especially after kids and things like that, how that all coalesces, how your neighborhood and community all works together, that kind of thing. And it's fantastic. There's one episode that starts off with Hannibal Buress as a investigative reporter interviewing the guy who did Hoop Dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Which was in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he's asking him about Hoop Dreams, like, what are you doing now? And it looks like a real interview because the guy's saying, like, I'm not coaching anymore, but I'm an educator. I want to make sure these young men are brought up well, which is really cool. And then it goes on to an episode called Hop Dreams, which is about these two brothers trying to open up a brewery in Chicago. And that's Dave Franco and Evan Jongakit, who I'd seen before.
Oh, yeah.
But my favorite episode, one of my favorite episodes, is Orlando Bloom and Malin Ackerman are parents of a young child, but they're still young enough and in shape and stuff like that, and adventurous enough where they want to have a threesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so they end up getting on Tinder and all that stuff, and they end up hooking up with Kate Micucci, who is the ukulele player from Garfunkel and Oates. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with this? You would recognize her face.
I'm still back at the Orlando Bloom threesome. Sorry, go on.
Well, okay, so it goes on to depict this threesome from soup to nuts, to where it goes from how they get in touch with her and the pre-drinks and stuff like that, and then how they get into this to the completion of the threesome, all while getting called away individually to go take care of this baby who's in the house. It is awesome. Yeah. It's like the happiest, most well-adjusted, I'd say realistic. I'm not going to get into the realism of a threesome, but it's presented in a way that is realistic and not gauzy and not fake and that kind of thing. And everybody's happy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Did they a threesome with a dude or a chick?
With the chick, Kate Micucci.
Oh, you said her name. I didn't
Kate
catch
Micucci, Malin Ackerman, and
Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom.
Yes. Who is jacked.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 26 minutes per episode, easily bingeable.
Which episode was that?
I think it's called Utopia. It's episode 8 of season 1.
Thank you for that information.
Mm-hmm.
I will not
and then there's also one about an open marriage, like this very stable couple that wants to do an open marriage, and the sex depicted in this is also very, very realistic. It's just very cool. I wholeheartedly recommend this.
Wow,
series. May have to watch this.
All right. That was off my radar completely.
Yeah. My warn is going to be, now, I was just talking about this Hulu app and how there's movies and stuff. So I was going through some movies and I noticed Knock Knock.
Oh, Jesus.
And
have you seen it? I clearly had not done enough to warn you away from this movie.
No, you would not have been able to warn me from this movie, just mainly because
I get it.
My boner for Ana de Armas is a little bit too strong.
The power of that boner.
I will watch anything she's in. She is gorgeous.
Uh-huh.
And
she is.
The first time I ever saw her in War Dogs, I was in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing now. It's bad. So Knock Knock is this this movie. Have you warned this before?
I don't know if I've
warned
it.
I hope not, because it would suck if we've both
No, I don't think I've, you mean in the podcast warning?
Yeah.
No, I think I have just said in conversation to you that I've seen it and it's terrible.
So Keanu Reeves is a happily married man, and his wife and kids are leaving for some vacation or something like that. And she's an artist, and she's left this real valuable, not valuable, but centerpiece to her art gallery or whatever at home. And he's like, just make sure it gets to the right people while I'm gone. Whatever. They had to throw some other bullshit in here. So these two gorgeous women in the rain knock on his door and say, hey, we're looking for this party, and the Google Maps or whatever told us the wrong address. Can we use your phone because our phones are dead or some shit like that? Whatever excuse it is that they get and he's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And so this is Ana de Armas and Lorenza Izzo. they sit there and they talk to him while they're waiting for their, like, you know, at one point he calls an Uber. The Uber takes 45 fucking minutes for an Uber to show up at this fucking place. And so while they're waiting for the Uber, they're like getting their clothes dried. And of course, they're like, you know, like just kind of like in towels and crap like that. And I know if you have a message about like the temptations that married men may go through and everything, it has like this kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of see what you're going for type of thing here. Like he would never let just random dudes show up in his house, right?
Right.
He thinks that he's like stronger than them and that he could take care of them if they were like dangerous at all. And of course, because they're gorgeous, he's entertaining the fantasy. If you wanted to go along that line, it might be an interesting drama. It might be an interesting David Mamet type drama. But this is an Eli Roth movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the right out, like, so they seduce him, and of course he's powerless to resist because it's Ana de Armas. And I'm sorry, like you're not going to turn her down. And by the next morning, they don't want to leave.
I wouldn't even see her in the room with that other girl in there.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly right.
I'm saying that Lorenzen Isa girl.
Lorenza Isa, who is Eli Roth's wife in real life.
Like, I wouldn't see the other girl with that girl in the room.
I wouldn't either. I'm sorry. And she's gorgeous too, but god damn. Ana de Armas.
No, you're actually misunderstanding me. I'm saying the opposite of what
you're saying.
I wouldn't see the girl from Blade Runner because Eli Roth's wife is in the room.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I find her to be the more attractive of the two.
Okay. Okay.
I think they're both A-plus hotties who would win the no swimsuit competition Miss USA pageant hands down.
That's very interesting. But so by the time it's all over, the next morning they're not leaving. In fact they're trashing his place at this point. They're even trashing the art that the wife made and all this stuff. And he's pissed now. He's like, get the fuck out of my house, because he's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, of course.
And they,
I care about your crimes.
Yeah. Exactly. And so every time that he threatens them in some way, they're like, well, what? You're like, I bet your wife wouldn't like to know about what happened, and so on and so forth and everything. I will end it there just to say that Keanu Reeves turns in a Nicolas Cage and Wicker Man performance that you must see.
Wow.
This is a Wreck-A-Warn as much as it can be, because Keanu Reeves turns in that kind of performance.
Oh, I kind of.
I don't even want to spoil things he says because it's so coming out of his, it would be hilarious for the podcast for me to say some of the things that he says, but you must experience this for yourself. When he is yelling at these women, the things that come out of his mouth are so ridiculous in his anger that you have to experience it for yourself.
Oh, I got to see this.
And so there's my Wreck-A-Warn. This movie is terrible as fuck, but you must watch it because of that train wreck of and the movie is just, the movie has a point. It's such a terrible point, though.
I can't wait to watch this. I am curious how much longer we have to go before the people with money stop giving it to Eli Roth.
No, yeah, I don't know.
Because Hostel, and then what else?
Hostel is I thought was decent.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was okay.
And it made money, and I think what he does is he makes movies for very little money and probably gets a pretty good return.
I see.
It's like the guys in The Player who are like, we don't make a lot of money, but we always turn a decent profit. And Tim Robbins is like, okay, yeah, sure.
Because he made that Death Wish, or what was it called?
Yeah, he made the Death Wish remake.
I just don't feel like he's made anything good for a really long time.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. If somebody could give me money, I could make something better than Knock Knock.
Well, people have an affinity for that movie that we've discussed before.
The Green Inferno.
Green Inferno.
But it's terrible.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people have they like Cabin Fever too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot that was him.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it really comes down to that. He makes movies on the cheap, and they probably turn a profit.
Fair enough.
Wreck-A Warren?
Wreck-A Warren. I tweeted about this. The movie called The Tale, an HBO original film with Laura Dern.
Oh, yeah. What's this about?
Childhood sex abuse. Remember how I told you I like to go on Saturday nights and see what HBO has that's new?
Uh-huh.
This is how I ended up watching that Fahrenheit 451 with Michael B. Jordan, which was not very good. So I see this brand new movie called The Tale. It's on HBO. It's an HBO original, and it stars Laura Dern. And that was literally all I needed. I was a yes. And I was too far in to stop once the movie revealed itself to me. And it's not a long ways in. It's pretty early on. She's playing a real woman who directed this film, named Jenny Fox, who's a documentary filmmaker and a teacher. And this is based on her own experiences. In fact, the movie starts with a voiceover that says this is based on a true story, as far as I know. And there are a bunch of reasons I want to talk about this movie, but we have to first talk about the elephant in the room, which is that it is about childhood sex abuse. Her mother, who's a famous actress I can't recall the name of, who's in the drug movie.
Diane Ladd.
Diane who?
Is that Laura Dern's mom?
Yeah.
Diane Ladd?
Yeah. That's not the woman I thought it was.
Oh, you're talking about in the show, her mom?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. In the movie, her mom is played Ellen Burstyn.
Oh, okay. Ellen Burstyn. I was trying to think of that Aronofsky movie she's in. All right, so Ellen Burstyn calls her. She's been going through some boxes, and she's found this essay that Laura Dern's character wrote when she was a teenager for school. And Ellen Burstyn is immediately concerned because the essay basically spells out sexual abuse. And Laura Dern is blown away because she remembers this summer of her life in a completely romanticized way. That and the movie, this is such an expertly made film. I cannot tell you enough how good this film is. Because like the first flashback, she basically spent a few summers at this horse riding place with Mrs. G, who was the horse riding lady, and nearby was a man, forget Bob something I think, who was their running coach and taught them cross country running. Jason Ritter?
Jason Ritter, yeah.
The Mrs. G, by the way, is the woman who played the Aisha character in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yes.
The Sovereign leader. That's who she is.
Yeah. So the first flashback you see, and it's fairly harmless. There's a few girls there that are staying for the summer that are doing riding and running lessons with this guy. And they're having some kind of a potluck dinner in the kitchen, and Mrs. G is handing dishes for the girls to take to the table. And then it keeps cutting back between the flashbacks and Laura Dern in real life as she begins to investigate this incident and try and understand it better. And she finds a picture from that summer. And she realizes she's a lot younger than she remembered. And we see the same flashback again with an actress that's 3 years younger.
Oh, damn.
So the first time we saw it with a 15-year-old actress, and this time we're seeing it with a 12-year-old actress. And it's such a great visual way to explain the murkiness when she's dealing with her memory on such a touchy issue.
Yeah.
And the movie does a lot of these tricks because she's a documentary filmmaker, the character and the woman directing this film. So there are moments in the movie where characters from the flashback, like young Mrs. G, are sitting on a couch being interviewed by a documentarian, Jenny.
Interesting.
And it's a way to bring that character out of the scenario, but get at the heart of that relationship because it's an older Laura Dern off camera interviewing the flashback Mrs. G. And there are moments when young Jenny looks in the mirror and talks directly to the Jenny behind the camera that's filming her outside the bathroom.
Wow.
And it's really unsettling. It's shot in a way that like they went out of their way to use body doubles at the right moments. But basically, Mrs. G, from what I can gather, is grooming this Jenny girl for Bob, the running instructor. I think it's Bob, Jason Ritter's character. And he does have sex with her, and they try to set up a foursome with another girl from the camp. But Jenny gets sick and can't go, and this is part of remembering this is how Laura Dern remembers that she used to get sick every time she would spend time with Bob. And she basically has to peel this onion and remember what parts of it were romanticized and what parts of it weren't. There's even a moment where she's talking to a detective, and he says, "So you were abused when you were 13 by such and such?" And she's like, "No, I had a relationship with him." And the detective's like, he gives this face like, "I'm not going to pursue this particular semantic debate, but that is not right." And then he keeps talking to her. And so murky, heavy issues. That's why my tweet was so, like, I don't usually talk about movies the way I did when I tweeted out this movie. It's terrible to watch. It's important to watch.
Isn't that sort of the thing that's so hard about those type of stories, is that the child a lot of times can look back at those memories as fond memories, and they don't think anything's wrong until way later in life and everything. That's why that's such a difficult thing to, I don't know if it's to prove it but that people don't come forward a lot of times. Because
you don't always necessarily even trust your own memory of the event. Everybody's outstanding in this movie. Jason Ritter, I believe he will legitimately lose roles because he took this role. Because some Hollywood guy's going to say, "Oh, everybody remembers him from that skeezy character who had sex with the little girl." But I think it's brave to take a role like this and play it as well as he does, because he doesn't come off as sinister. He comes off as caring and loving, as I would imagine most abusers do.
Yeah.
And as a child, this Jenny character thought she was becoming an adult and having a more adult, loving relationship with two grown-ups. She didn't realize what it was until she's in her 40s investigating. It's powerful as hell, but it's also the kind of thing I have to tell you enough about what happens before you decide to watch it, because some people cannot watch this movie depending on their own childhood experiences or people they know and what they've been through. It's really hard to watch, but not in the sense that, like, this is the hardest movie to watch that I've actually gone back and watched again after I had previously said I'm never going to watch that again.
Really? Wow.
Because the filmmaking is so good. I want to see what she makes beyond this, because it's that stuff with the younger actress in the second flashback, and then the documentary interviews of the actual characters that I have never seen in a movie before. And it's just super clever, and just the way that she uses that stuff to underscore, God, it's maybe the best movie I've seen all year.
That's amazing. That sounds pretty intense. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing that I would want my wife to watch, because I think it would be a lot harder for her, not for any specific reasons.
Right.
But yeah, it moved me greatly, and it's important. Anyway, there you go. There's my Recca Warren.
Should have ended with that.
It's a recommend. Yeah, because now Barrett's going to say, like, Scooby-Doo 2.
No. I have a start of a hard warn, and then it'll turn into a recommendation. So there's this movie called The Voices. Have you guys ever heard of this? Ryan Reynolds, Anna Kendrick, Gemma Arterton, Jackie Weaver, directed by Marian Satrapi, who did Persepolis.
Okay.
And it is a wacky black comedy starring Ryan Reynolds.
I have seen this.
As a schizophrenia patient.
He kills people and puts them in his fridge.
Yes.
I have seen this. It is fucked up.
It is fucked up. It also goes against everything about schizophrenia that I know.
Wow, he got
and that's a lot.
Angry for a second there.
It pissed me off from the very beginning about how they're portraying this normal, everyday, schizophrenic guy that has a job and blah, 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 blah. But also he kills people because all schizophrenic people are fucking dangerous.
Right.
So I was pissed off and I didn't want to watch it. But then Ryan Reynolds is just so engaging. And then I saw him put Gemma Arterton's head in his refrigerator. And then I saw his dog and his cat talking to him.
I was going to say, he talks to his cat.
Yes. His cat, Mr. Whiskers, is the bad part of his conscience. His dog, Bosco, his dog's name Bosco, is the good part of his conscience. They're both voiced by Ryan Reynolds. One is Scottish, and one is like the old hound dog, from the South type of guy. So he starts dating, or he starts kind of dating Gemma Arterton. Something happens to where he accidentally kills her, and then he dismembers her and puts her in her head in his fridge. And he's going to see a psychiatrist, Jackie Weaver, this whole time, and she's making sure he takes his medication. When he takes his medication, he sees his apartment for what it is.
Yeah.
Feces-riddled, disgusting, blood everywhere. When he doesn't take his medication, he talks to his animals, and his apartment looks fine.
Yeah.
So then he starts dating Anna Kendrick. And, of course, Anna Kendrick is like the most adorable thing in the world. And Anna Kendrick and Ryan Reynolds together is kind of the most adorable thing in the world, too. And so they're so engaging. And the story is kind of like interesting. And it's well shot. And I was on board. I somehow got on board with this movie after it violating all of the core things that I know about this disease. And he keeps needing to kill, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then the whole thing ends with a song and dance number in heaven. And it's Anna Kendrick and the dog and the cat and Ryan Reynolds and his parents all together and doing a song and dance.
Of course.
And I ended up turning that off, and I was like, I think I ended up liking that movie. I don't know how I ended up liking that movie, but I liked it, and I will probably watch it again. And I've never even heard of this movie.
Wow.
It is totally a Jeremy Scott movie. Seeing it on Stars at 11 p.m.
That's exactly how I saw
on
it.
a Sunday night. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck is the
Never heard of that. There's 3 people in it I know. Let's
Exactly.
watch it. Yeah.
It's directed by the woman who did Persepolis, one of the most heavy, like, beautiful movies I've ever seen. And it's the definition of a Wreck-It Warren, I think.
All right.
Oh, yeah. I would probably watch Naked Lunch before I watch this again.
So we
didn't like it?
It would be a full-on Warren for me.
You didn't like it at all?
Fucked up.
It is
I spent
totally
the
fucked
entire
up.
movie wondering how the hell they talked Ryan Reynolds into doing that. Because it's not old. It's not like this was made in
it's 2015,
99.
yeah.
It was made 3 years ago.
We've successfully recommended our Warrens, all of them.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Watch Naked Lunch before The Voice.
Do we have time for questions at all?
2:34. No, we do not.
I was about to say, this seems like this is going a little long. So, yeah, once again, no time for questions. No time for Matt Damon in today's show.
We have them, though. We're collecting them, keep them coming in. We're even answering some of them. We were prepped. We were ready.
Yep, we were ready, but then we just went too long.
We
We like talking too much, man. We like the sounds of our own voices.
That's right.
Anyway, keep going to SinCast presented by CinemaSins. Keep going to Twitter, SoundCloud, all these different places that you can find us. I'm Facebook. Barrett is SoundCloud. Jeremy is Twitter.
There you go.
Tweet on the street.
Still have some people who don't quite know whenever I answer in, an I pronouns and stuff. They're like,
We don't have character limits, though.
Yeah. So anyway, but that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Man, how good is that new Gorillaz song? Have you heard that song?
I haven't heard the new song.
Oh, it is like summer jam butter.
Yeah. What do you know what it's called?
Humility. It's just a groove. There's something about Gorillaz.
Yeah.
Goddamn YouTube and their goddamn ads.
I know.
There was a story that came out this week that Damien Albarn, the guy from Blur and Gorillaz, he refused to record with Prince when he was alive because Prince wouldn't let him smoke in the studio.
That's hilarious. The lines we draw in our lives.
There's still like this blood feud between Blur fans and Oasis fans.
Really?
Even after all this time.
What is Blur even famous for?
Woohoo!
That's what I thought.
But they've got amazing stuff. I fucking love Blur.
I'm okay with that.
You would love it. I think you would really
what
love it.
that beef was all about.
They hate Damien Albarn and the Gallagher brothers hated each other. And of course the Gallagher brothers hated themselves
I was
too.
going to say they hated each other too.
But they still hate each other. I can't believe that. Just I know brotherdom is a complicated thing, but
I mean, it feels like it's either there's one of 3 ways it goes. You're either cool with each other and tight.
Mm-hmm.
You hate each other's guts, or you're just kind of ambivalent about each other. It really feels like every group of brothers or pair of brothers I know in life fall into one of those three categories.
Do you know a lot of them that hate each other?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
This Gallagher thing is just like every fucking chance they have to talk about the other one. Still, I mean, they're like 48 at this point, something like that.
Yeah.
Like they just won't let it go.
Imagine the career you could have had. Remember all the talk.
Mm-hmm.
Because their lips were wagging long before they even had the material to back it up about they were going to be the next Beatles. They could have been.
Yeah.
They could have stopped fighting with each other.
Yep.
They put out, 2 great albums? And then the rest of it's all forgettable?
That first one, and then the one after that had Do You Know What I Mean on it was also big, in the UK in particular.
I don't care about the UK. When I talk, I'm generally talking to Americans about America.
And it's funny because when they were being interviewed, they always needed to put subtitles down on the screen,
like they're Brad Pitt in Snatch.
I went up to
Definitely Maybe was the first one.
I ran into a British person during the time of Oasis being popular, and remembering that interview, I said, "Let me ask you something. When you hear the Gallagher brothers talk, do you need subtitles?" And he said, he said that there are people who will do that on purpose, talk that way on purpose. To troll interviewers and everything.
Interesting.
And I was like, really?
That does kind of sound like what they would do.
It does sound like something they would do.
That's interesting.
So Definitely Maybe had Rock and Roll Star. That was their big hit. That was their first big
Definitely
hit.
Maybe sounds like a shitty rom-com starring Neve Campbell.
It does.
Actually, was there?
Nev Campbell.
Also known as Nev. Well, yeah, there was a movie called something like that, right?
I'm sure there was. I Love You, I Hate You. Definitely Maybe. Yes, no.
Be Here Now was the one with Do You Know What I Mean, which is my favorite Oasis song.
Yeah.
I'd be all right if you stopped researching Oasis right now.
Yeah, it's that Ryan Reynolds movie where he's telling Abigail Breslin about all the 3 women that could be her mom.
Oh, nice.
Oh, so it's like father figures.
So now I want to
guess.
know if that movie has any songs from the Oasis album in the soundtrack. Because that would be...
Yeah, that would make sense. This came out in 2008.
Okay. This was 94.
I mean, it's like a microcosm version of how do you make the movie Iron Man without the song Iron Man?
By the
Right?
way, like the 3 women that could be her mom, I'm like, geez, can you imagine having a life like this?
Yeah.
Rachel Weisz, Elizabeth Banks, and Isla Fisher.
Nice.
Like, what a roster.
That's pretty awesome.
Heard Simser's name get mentioned in one of the Kevin Smith podcasts the other day.
Yeah.
Someone asked him about what is the thing that they're working
the comic book.
They're working on a hockey comic book. God, now I'm going to forget the name of it. It was something Kevin Smith was originally. It's something like Clear the Benches or
Hit Somebody.
Yeah, that was.
So I've seen some of this
Oh, yeah?
because Jeremy shared some of it on Twitter with me privately. It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm pumped, and it's set back in the day too. Like,
in the 70s.
Yeah,
where it was still like goons and shit.
Somebody asked Kevin Smith about what the status of that was or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I got Jeremy Simser working on it and all that and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Simser mentioned.
Yeah. It's
awesome.
Graphic novel. I'm excited about it. It's a must buy for me.
We should have Kevin on for the next mini pod.
We definitely should.
I wonder if we would get a word in edgewise.
No. Well, you know what's funny? There was that same one. It was the Fat Man on Batman podcast. Some woman came up to ask a question, and she kept like breaking into like when he'd start answering it.
Yeah, when he's on a roll, he's on a roll.
And she was like, but he goes, can I answer the question? I'd never heard him like upset before. Like he's like, you keep on butting in, and she kept doing it throughout, even after that.
Jesus,
it was one of the most like listening to a podcast making me anxious. Like I was sitting there going, damn, just. Shut up. Let him say his thing. But I understand I'm sure that, she knows that he goes on like long rants. And if you have some other thought, you'll never get to that thought.
Right. Well, and also, maybe she's she's that big of a fan, and this is the only chance she's ever going to have to face him.
Yeah.
And it's
He
hard
is garrulous.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's a wisp in my experience. Like, he's a ghost. You know, if I ever got him face to face, I probably wouldn't shut up either.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have randos coming up to, like, you know, like, one asked him, he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I smoke weed with you afterwards?" And he, like, pleaded, and he was like, "I'll tell you what, after the show, we'll go off in the corner and we'll smoke a bit."
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, are we doing a show? What are you doing over there? Looks like you're doing something.
Do a show. I'm just pulling up the agenda here.
You're looking at nudes, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. All the fresh new nudes.
I loved that discussion, by the way, on Twitter about how you handled the porn part of Spider-Man Homecoming when your son watched it, and you talked over it expertly because you're a good dad. But I mean, it's something I, as somebody who doesn't have a kid, have never given a second thought to. Because of course you would let a 7 or a 10-year-old see that movie.
Yeah,
it's a fairly harmless movie. But have you had the porn conversation yet? I don't know.
Nope.
And so, you know, it's just interesting that.
Oh no, because I obviously love that line, and I was looking forward to watching it. So I made this. It was like almost minute 0 where I had to make the call. Like, do I want to laugh at this line, or do I want to just delay this conversation for another 4 years if possible? And I was like, "Hey, so how do you like the movie so far?" As he's doing it, he's like, "Dad, shut up!" And it was over. And I was like, "Oh, all right, fine."
Nice, good job. Nice
High
job,
fiving
Dad.
myself.
Yeah.